Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome anyone who's new. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so today we are going to watch the interview that Candace Owens did with Elizabeth Lane. I saw some people covering it and I saw bits and pieces of it because I was going in and out of my friends' streams and because I was also editing and doing a bunch of other stuff. So I only caught bits and pieces. And so I was going to watch it myself. And then I thought, why don't we watch it here? I know other people have watched it elsewhere, but why not? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of entertainment and ranty rageful rants. Let's just say that. But hopefully we can get through it okay. So let me pull that up.
Candace Owens,
I'm
thank you so
so
much.
happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you. So, you know that I'm a huge fan of yours. And no matter how many people are out there trying to bring you down, I'm always going to be on your side. Hope nothing changes unless one day you come out and you start, pushing Zionist propaganda, then I might have to leave you.
I think we can safely say that that day will not come.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I thought about this interview when I was.
Zionist propaganda. Okay, so just anything that you guys don't agree with. I would like to know their definition of what Zionism even is.
Coming over here and I was like, what do I want to, where do I want to go with this? Because everyone knows, Candace, you're so open out there with people. I think that's why they love you so much because you speak for them. That's that's how I see you, my reflection of you. So I wanted to start with a story of Charlie Kirk that no one knows, something that brings you happiness, something that you can remember and share with us.
Wow, okay, I could pick a lot of stories. I say this often on my podcast, but he was really funny. And one of the things that I guess is so sad in sort of the wake of his assassination is it was so corporatized and so political that it didn't actually, you didn't learn anything about Charlie when you heard all these political figures speaking and obviously pushing their church propaganda and also Republican propaganda. And the real Charlie was just objectively hilarious. He was objectively hilarious. But there's one story that I actually thought about recently, which was obviously we traveled. I mean, 4 times a week we were traveling together. You really just get to know somebody in that circumstance. Early morning, you realize you forgot to pack something or your suitcase didn't come through, and we're waiting outside at like 4 a.m. for Walmart to open at 5 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. But I will never forget New Mexico. Charlie and I used to always eat Chipotle. That was our go-to. We ate Chipotle everywhere we were. We were just thinking, gosh, Chipotle has to sponsor us, has to sponsor us. It was just an easy meal that felt light enough and you don't feel like crap when you're traveling. But we went to New Mexico, and this was during the time that we were wearing like the Build the Wall shirts and like, very pro-Trump, very pro-MAGA, wearing our MAGA hats, Build the Wall. And we went to this random Chipotle in New Mexico. And I can't explain it to you, but it was the greatest tacos we ever had in our lives. And
Okay, so before she starts telling the story that she remembers of Charlie, she has to throw shade on everybody else that was his friend in his life, like his actual friend. Then she gets into the story.
And I just remember Charlie saying, the tomatoes are glistening. Like the tomatoes are glistening. And he was like, "Do you think we got this wall thing wrong? Like, should we should we go backwards and stop saying build the wall? Because like maybe this is because we're so close to the border." And I was like, I don't think we have it right, Charlie. I think we need to hear the other side. And just thinking of that Chipotle and how we constantly talked about the glistening tomatoes afterwards is just one of my favorite Charlie moments. Like he was just very, very funny, very aware of himself, really could make fun of himself, which we're both like that. We just don't take ourselves too seriously. And yeah, I think just his sense of humor.
Another wise person,
Yeah.
and he was. And I didn't know him personally, but I'll tell you something that happened to me when he died. I've never said this before, ever. I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I never met Charlie Kirk. And he came to me in my dream, which was weird. And I was worried because I was like, I don't think I'm doing enough for this investigation because, I don't only work on Charlie Kirk. I work on multiple other things. So it's like I've got a small team and I'm like, I don't think I'm doing enough. There's so much smoke in here and I have to like maybe try harder. So I go to sleep and comes to me.
What other things? What does she do? Let me see. Okay, so she's of Georgian descent. So she's not Russian, she's Georgian. She has pro-Putin views, anti-Western narrative on global elites, CIA, shadow governments, and work in alternative conspiracy-oriented media. She started as an actress. She has a education in law and international relations, lives in the US and the Utah area, and holds American citizenship. COO and host, investigative journalist, host Beyond the Surface of America, covers CIA Masons, geopolitics, Skinwalker Ranch. That's interesting. And she's contributed to series like Expose the Kennedy Files, Beyond the Matrix, and focuses on uncensored takes on international politics, elites, and hidden power structures. She launched in 2023 after this is her show, The Elizabeth Lane Show. After a prior channel deletion, covers relationships, porn industry early on, then geopolitics, elites, and Russia Putin topics. It's weird. Like, I've never heard of her before. All this. Interesting.
And I don't know, you tell me if that's like Charlie. He hugs me for some reason, smiles, and he's like, "You're doing just fine." I never knew him personally, but he was smiling and he hugged some reason. Comes to me. And I don't know, you tell me if that's like Charlie. He hugs me for some, and I have to like maybe try harder. So I go to sleep and he comes to me. And I don't know, you tell me if that's like Charlie. He hugs me for some reason, smiles, and he's like, "You're doing just fine." I never knew him personally, but he was smiling and he hugged me and he's like, "You're doing just fine." So I remember like just asking like, "Who killed you?" So I did. I was like, "Who killed you?" Like that would be easier to tell me, like, "Who killed you?" And you know what he said? He said, "The same people that killed JFK."
Wow, you had this in your dream.
In a dream.
Wow.
I woke up at 4 a.m. and texted my friend.
Oh my gosh, you guys. What can you even say?
She's also my producer, texted my friend and I was like, "I just had Charlie Kirk tell me this in my dream."
Wow.
And yeah, well, obviously it's not the same people because they are all dead, but you know what he meant. And I usually don't believe in dreams, but it was so unusual for me to dream about somebody I never met. And maybe someone can say like, it's because of your imagination, you were worried that you were not doing enough. And, it could be that you're imagining, but.
For me, I have so much of this world is built around wanting people not to have the confidence to go with their gut. And I realize that it's all about don't trust your intuition, don't believe your dreams, don't think you can follow your dreams. This is actually one of the reasons why I was such a big Kanye fan, because I felt like in his music, he sort of like gave us the code. That's why he was so hated. He refused to be put into a box. And so I have had dreams that have become true. Like I showed it, demonstrated that on my show, where literally the day that my former executive producer got pregnant, I had the clearest dream, and they were like trying to get pregnant for a while. Like the clearest dream, it was a boy. I knew exactly when he was going to be born. I told her that the next day, and she was like, "Well, no." And then she found out about a week later that she was pregnant, and she wrote me and was like, "This really freaks me out." And my sisters have had that every single time one of me and my sisters is pregnant. One of us has a very clear dream of the sex of the baby when the baby's going to be born. And so this whole idea that your dreams don't mean anything, sometimes they don't. Like sometimes I watch a scary movie and then I have a scary dream. And so it can be impacted by that. But there was a difference. And when you know that a dream didn't feel like a dream, right? You wake up and you go, "I wasn't thinking about this topic," or "I never thought of this person in this way." Andrew Colbert being one of them, never thought about Andrew Colbert in that way ever. So I didn't go to bed going, "I wonder if Andrew Colbert." No, I fully trusted Andrew Colbert at the beginning of this. I knew Andrew Colbert. I had no reason not to trust Turning Point at that moment. And that dream shook me. And yeah, so I hope that people listening to this just know that they build this entire system not to get you, because they want you not to trust your intuition. Your intuition, there's so much more that we will never know, that things are metaphysical. And that's why around people, hell is real.
Do they though? I mean, like, is there a dream police going around that I don't know about? Don't they teach you to follow your dreams? And there's all these inspirational posters I remember from when I was younger. I don't know, man.
They know it's real. And I think that there was something about the Charlie Kirk assassination that made people realize that demons are real.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people who were atheists who aren't feeling so atheistic today.
Yeah. And that's why I was like so confused, because Charlie was not my friend. It would make sense if he came to you talking, so he's just one of the cases. I've been on multiple other cases when people die and, I feel like, okay, something's off here. And I worked with detectives and I was so shocked. But then, and only then, I started kind of putting parallels between JFK and his assassination. And I think that they are very similar in many ways.
Of course they are.
Do you agree?
Absolutely, they are. And I do believe that the same players are involved. Not something that I believed in the beginning, but following this investigation, obviously right away, I think what made people look up and wonder.
Weren't they all saying that, like, immediately after, like, within a couple of days? Or even, like, the next day? Oh my gosh.
What's going on here was just Bibi Netanyahu's little press tour. This is not normal. You can't normalize these things and pretend that it's okay. There have been other elements, of course, even
Messaging,
the messaging right
in the
away.
public, like you go against us, there you go, this is what you get.
The lie,
Yeah.
the unnecessary lie,
Yeah.
and the anger that they have toward people who are trying to figure out what happened. A turning point being upset with Joe Kent. That was beyond weird, for trying to investigate foreign involvement. Erica making a joke about foreign involvement. We don't like, why is she not concerned about Egyptian planes? Even if it turned out that it was nothing and really they just
She's talking about the Egyptian planes again. Oh my gosh. The reason why they were upset with Joe Kent is because they are afraid that he is going to upset the, trial of the person who actually killed all this other nonsense is just nonsense, okay? Like, that's why they're upset. They want the person who killed their friend, husband, son to, be on trial and have a fair, normal trial. I mean, Joe Kent's not gonna upset the trial, it's gonna be fine, but those were their feelings. They have every right to their own feelings without it being considered weird. Anybody would they legitimately, for their own reasons, I also legitimately, for my own reasons, believe that Tyler is the one who did this, okay? So if somebody comes out and jeopardizes that trial, anybody's gonna be upset, whether it was them or any other case where the family's victims are worried.
came into town to change, some parts, and for whatever reason, the Egyptian Air Force just can't find
Well, she's
any
not
place.
just
She's not
upset,
concerned.
but she's mocking it.
She's
That's
mocking
why
it.
I was like, she came out. What show was it on Fox News? Of course, like Fox News became a mouthpiece of TPUSA. At least that's how I see it. If you check out their social media, probably like 8 out of 10 would be TPUSA stuff. I mean, since when are we doing this, people? Even when Charlie was there, we were not doing that. Fox News was not an active mouthpiece of TPUSA. Now it is. So
No, it's not. What are they talking about? Okay, so here is Fox News, right? Not anything about Charlie, nothing about Charlie, nothing about Charlie, nothing about Charlie. They just make things up. Like, they just nothing on here. All their social media, every other post is about Turning Point USA. Where? Where? I mean, what are they talking about? They just make things up. They just say things all the time. People who are watching this now have that belief, and that is not true.
So she comes out and she mocks specifically Egyptian planes.
Like it was like she was told to do it.
Right.
If my husband, God forbid anything ever
It's a ridiculous thing that you said. It was proven wrong several times by several different people. You then said you were going to provide more proof because the proof that you provided showed it was wrong. It is the most ridiculous thing. So she's mocking it because it's stupid and you're also picking on her. And then when she says one thing, months and months and months, you can make like almost every show about her or her family or her company, but she says one thing, lightheartedly because she's probably dealing with all this emotional nonsense around this whole thing. And then that's like, "Oh, she must have been told to say that, blah, blah, blah." Woman, you are sick. Sick. Ugh.
happened to him, and the story didn't make any sense. And then I find out that my husband, who had real enemies and who was turning his back on Israel the day before, we thought that message was September 8th. We then learned it was September 9th, where he said, "I'm abandoning the Israeli cause." And then I see that there's an Egyptian Air Force, I'm gonna be
He was venting in a group chat. He was venting in a group chat because he was a little upset with donors. Turning every little small normal thing into something ginormous is what she does, you know?
like, "Hey, I'm gonna be getting in touch with Joe Kent myself and Tulsi Gabbard and saying, we need to investigate this." She doesn't care. She does not
That's the
care.
message I
And to
get.
be so aloof about that
Mhm.
is why people are rightly examining her, right? You have every right to look at this woman and say, you aren't acting right. You are offering a bonus and a raise to Dan Flood.
Yeah, people who are grieving tend to act odd. Yeah, when my sister's husband died, she also acted odd and did strange things and didn't make the best decisions. That's a part of grief. It's a stage of grief. If you actually looked into it, you would know that. But you don't care because you only want to tear down somebody for no reason, basically.
When you
Where is
should
your
be mad
rage?
that he literally failed in protecting your husband. So why are you doing
And
that?
even if it was misplaced anger,
Right.
even if Erica was angry at everyone, we would expect that. And that's why I compared it to Vanessa Bryant. Her husband died in a real tragic accident.
Right.
She wanted she wanted everybody's head. She wanted to, and she did sue the helicopter company. She sued TMZ for publishing the photos. She didn't let anyone into her. Like, I mean,
Why are we comparing one widow to another? Is there a standard, a widow standard? Also, we have no idea who she gave anything she says. So that thing she said about Dan Flood, I have no reason to believe that that's true coming from her.
her speech, which I encourage people to go watch at when they did a memorial for Kobe Bryant. There were no fireworks. They did it at Lakers. It was so personal. She told stories that nobody knew about him.
We can check out, let's see. Okay, so check this out. So I asked, did TPUSA give Dan Flood a promotion and raise? Yes, according to multiple claims and reports circulating since Charlie Kirk's assassination, TPUSA under Erica's leadership promoted Dan Flood and gave him a raise instead of firing and demoting him. These come from Candace Owens, social media insider claims, pre-assassination role and pay. So here, this all comes from he doesn't appear on their official team page. Some speculate it's an attempt to downplay visibility amid scrutiny. No official TPUSA statement. Okay, so then I said, not what our word people are saying, actual proof. And it says no verifiable public proof that TPUSA or Erica Kirk gave Dan Flood a formal promotion and a raise after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So he's not listed among executives, etc. The last available tax form would be before the death. So we won't know without new tax filings, it says. So once again, I would not believe anything that this woman says. She is a pathological liar.
And her general demeanor, wearing all black, there is a difference here that people are noticing. And you're not going to be able to gaslight us into thinking that
Wearing all black? Wait a minute. Wearing all black is odd for a widow? Okay.
all that is normal.
Absolutely. So what really shocked me is that she never once showed up in court. Never once, Candace. Like, you do not want to look at a person who supposedly killed your husband. Just look at him. I mean, just look at the guy. I'm not saying be angry at him. We get it. You forgave him. You know, we heard all. So, but you don't want to look at him in court?
There's just a general aloofness, lack of involvement. But, and of course, the notorious Zoom calls. I mean, 6 days after your husband's assassination, you're giggling about emojis. How are you out of bed? How is it possible that he was like a brother to me and he wasn't my husband, he wasn't the father of my children, and yet I couldn't.
She was doing a show the next day, laughing and smiling without a tear in her eye, looking at photos of Charlie. Okay, and also, you do in the grief process, there's actually stages. So I had to look into all this when my sister's husband, who was very young, they were both very young, died. We were not crying every day. Like she wasn't collapse crying at all hours of the day. Okay. We had to get up and we had to go do stuff and file things and get things into motion that somebody just died. The body's at the hospital. You have to do all this stuff. We had to get supplies because we needed stuff for the house. So we had to go out. She had to drive. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't from the area, so she had to drive, she had to interact with people days after her husband died, and sometimes we would laugh, but in that call that she had with the staff, she was swollen eyes, her makeup wasn't done, she was trying to, awkwardly communicate with them. It was not an odd video at all, it's only odd because they're making it out to be odd. They're twisting things to make it out to be odd and priming the audience with that.
Out of bed. I was destroyed. I couldn't. We're supposed to believe this is just the strength of a godly woman.
This is a lie because we just watched on Candace Owens series number 10, which goes over when Charlie died. We just watched her give a whole podcast, like a 30-minute long podcast, the very next day, laughing, smiling, not choked up at all. So she is just straight up lying here.
You guys are going to try to sell to us.
Yeah, and the godly woman who's so strong, Candace, is somehow bothered by you and others.
Right.
I thought she was very strong.
The Drewski skit. That's what really upset her.
Yeah.
Tyler Robinson murdering her husband. We can get by. We can forgive him. But Drew.
She actually never said anything about that. That was an AI. So let's see. Okay, so didn't the idea that Erica responded to Drewski get found out to be false? Yes, many of the initial viral claims about Erica Kirk directly responding to Drewski were proven false. Fake screenshots and fabricated exchanges spread heavily in late March 2026, right after Drewski's viral How Conservative Women in America Act skit, where he dressed up in makeup, prosthetics, wig to parody her. Claims included Erica posting about her daughter being confused and hurt, threatening to sue and sending a cease and desist, asking Elon Musk to remove the video, or having a direct back and forth with Drewski. These were all fabricated, often AI-generated or edited images. Fact-checkers like Snopes, Rated Fake, Newsweek, and Times of India confirmed no such posts existed on her account. Searches of her X page showed her last post before the skit was March 21st. Drewski also did not respond in the ways claimed. Okay, so then this is the only thing she said was in that video that she came out after the White House shooting, where she said, I have communities dressing up in whiteface and people say I'm not fit to be CEO. So that is a real thing. But there was, right after that skit happened, there was all this fake stuff going around all over the internet, and that was not true.
Skit. That's what really upset her.
Yeah.
Tyler Robinson murdering her husband. We can get by. We can forgive him. But Drewski mocking her.
That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's too. That is. I do not forgive you, Drewski.
So I will dive into Erica Kirk and I'll ask you a few things. But first, I want to know, who is Candace Owens? Because Candace, you know this, like they are like wolves. They are waiting for you to sleep up so they can come out and, oh, people, we told you this is who she was. She's a narcissist. She's this and that. I've heard this all. But you tell me and tell them.
Lady, I have been chronicling her career, and this woman does nothing but attack people and try to ruin their lives. That is basically her whole publication. She smear campaigns and lies and does all kinds of crazy stuff. So you can shush your mouth, okay? And people can speak out about her as much as they want.
Now, who's Candace Owens, truly?
Honestly, I think the best way to think of me is as my granddad's grandbaby. I am a lot like my grandfather was, and you can blame my granddad. He's not here anymore, sadly, but I was definitely shaped by my grandparents early in life, and my grandfather was just forthright. It was all about God and family, and we had to study the Bible growing up. We used to live in like a roach infested apartment, super, just didn't have a lot of money. My sister shared a bedroom, tiny little bedroom, and had to take out the pots and the pans when I was young, and because they had to come spray for roaches. But of course, when you're young, you don't really process your lack of wealth or anything like that. Your kids can be happy anywhere. It's one of the great things. But a grandfather, and we couldn't afford groceries, so they would come pay and bring groceries. We spent a lot of time with them. And my grandfather, I think when I was 8 or when I was 7, turning 8, came to our apartment and just said, I don't want my grandbabies growing up like that. And so he moved us into their house, like a more middle-class house, still a small house. My parents were in the basement, me and my sister were in the attic, totally overfilled house, but it was better than roaches. It was great. It was fantastic. We felt like we made it. We loved our grandparents. And he just believed he was conservative naturally. And I don't say conservative in a Republican way. I say conservative in the way that he just adored me and my sisters. I have 2 sisters. My brother had to be out mowing the lawn. He wanted us to be like, in dresses, and he would like hold the door for us, and he would sort of wrap us into, if we did something wrong, he would lecture us in a prayer, like, would start a prayer and then lecture us. And he just, my grandmother and my grandfather are just they were the most fantastic people, and they definitely shaped me. But granddad was stubborn. Like, he was stubborn. If you came for his family, if he felt like, something wasn't right, you would hear from him. And so
That's how it's supposed to be.
so much like my grandfather, we even call it an Owens temper because it like flares and then you're over it. So if my granddad and me, I remember before he started, he eventually got dementia, but this notorious like kind of last fight we had where he was yelling at me about, I don't know what it was. And he starts stomping on the carpet. He's like, "This is my house." Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, "You're blah, blah, blah." And literally 10 minutes later, he's like, "Hey baby, do you want to take me to get somebody?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, granddad." Like flare up, flare down.
Aww.
And yeah, so they can blame my grandfather for that. I always say it was the way my grandparents loved and adored me. I think that really shaped me. And I was always different. My mother and my father would say that. I see it in my children now. And you can see which ones are just kind of, there's a beat to their own drum that they're going to. And that's probably how it's going to be.
It's amazing. Well, I'm glad you turned out the way you did. Let's take a moment to give a shout out to our sponsors at longcryptoira.com. Everything they told you about your retirement is a lie. The 401k was never built for you. It was scheduled, they sat, and here. Go to longcryptoira.com. Right now, there's an exclusive offer waiting for you at the end of the paper. They print more of it whenever they want. Every time they do, your savings get smaller. And they don't ask permission.
Okay, so I was gonna fast forward through this commercial, but then I saw this Lane Crypto IRA. That worries me. That is very worrisome because there's all these scams going on with this type of stuff. So let me show you. There's targeting, these are scammy stuff targeting people who are older and getting their retirement money. So it's a landing page that's a marketing affiliate landing page that redirects or loads to block trust IRAs. It promotes self-directed crypto IRAs, allowing people to roll over their retirement funds, IRA 401k to Bitcoin and other crypto managed by an AI trading system called Anonymous AI. So here's the thing that's worrisome. AI that supposedly outperformed Bitcoin by 250%. This 250% is a extremely worrisome number. I will have to look into this company because I was literally just watching CoffeeZilla that just put out a video on these scams where they get people's IRA funds. But just please be very careful with this kind of stuff.
Index funds, the same playbook for 40 years. They get rich on your fees while your purchasing power of what you've saved don't even know it exists. Since 2000, a tax advantage account completely outside that it's going to sell your data and charge you hidden built-in fees, is zero conflict in how they get paid. The opposite of everything that Wall Street sells. Here's what's exclusive. Fund a qualifying account through my link and you can claim up to $2,500 in free crypto IRA. They've had a sizable number here today that serves longcryptoira.com. They've had your money long enough. The media today that, people who are on the right side now are a sizable number, and that was not the case before. And I'm very thankful to your grandpa and grandparents.
I hope people are learning the code.
Oh, yeah,
there is a code here where you see it. It's all about trying to humiliate you, to blackmail you into submission, to threaten you with finances, and to get you to agree to serve Lucifer in the process. And so many people just say yes to it. It's scary. The people that I came up with in politics, who Charlie came up with, who have turned their back on him. It sickens me. It genuinely sickens me. I can't explain to you. It makes me want to stomp on the carpet.
Trust me, I know. And so something interesting was said by Larry Loomer. She tried to say, well, I don't understand why so many people are so scared of this, and how it went. I'm not going to repeat that anymore. But she said it right. They are scared. Candace, they are scared. And this is why they are all over the place. They are like watching your show like hawks. Maybe she makes a mistake. We are going to sue her. Like, no one is as watched as you by the enemies, and because she said it right. It was not maybe it was a Freudian slip, but they are terrified. Now, the question is, what kind of person is terrified? Are you scared?
No.
Neither am I. You know why? Because I've got nothing to hide. And neither have you. That you don't have anything to hide. So the question is, what kind of person should be that scared, and why Larry thinks that people are scared, right?
I think what they're fearful of, it's not me. They're fearful of their own exposure. That's what it is, and they're fearful of coming across someone who they know doesn't bend the knee to money. They tried it. If I bent the knee to money, I'd be at the Daily Wire, right?
Exactly.
And so that scares them because that's one of their mechanisms. The second thing is like, okay, well, can we blackmail this person? Can we dig through their life? Can we find something? Actually, Laura did land upon a high school squabble that I got into. I don't care. I literally don't care. Do you want to talk about it on my podcast? I have zero shame about that. This is how it works. You go and you find something that happened when I was 17 years old, and you think that that's going to make me bend the knee to having watched Charlie Kirk be assassinated on TV. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's come on my podcast and talk about it. This is how the game works, and I'm not playing this. I am not bending the knee to Satan, okay? Because I'm fearful that you're going to dig up something about my family, about my grandparents, and I want people to learn this, right? I want people to learn this. You better faster be willing to come in front of the world and spill all your dirt than to buy yourself a ticket to hell, because that is where these people are going who did this to Charlie Kirk. I am not shutting up on this. I am not going to be distracted on this. The lawsuits is meant to be about financial duress. She's now upped the game and is publishing my address everywhere.
The people who did this are maybe going to hell, like Tyler Robinson may go to hell, but he may not because he may accept Christ as his Lord and Savior before he dies. Or whoever else you're imagining in your crazy brain, you believing in Jesus Christ is what saves you or not. The gospel, the good news tells you that. It's not what you did or didn't do. She has no idea what the gospel is. It's wild.
That's a psychological game.
Of
But I
course,
spent 2
of
years
course.
studying Sigmund Freud. Okay. I know how these tactics work. It's built to destroy you mentally. This is what Kanye, albeit he communicated it poorly, was trying to tell people about the Matrix, how everyone around him, he suddenly realized was fake. He woke up one day and realized his life was the Truman Show and
It is.
had a breakdown about it. And they just will call you crazy, you try to dig up things that are embarrassing. And that's why Kanye notoriously got up and started saying, I got liposuction. He did this thing in TMZ. I was with him. I got liposuction. Like, I'm insecure. Actually, his first song is about that. It All Falls Down. I don't know if you know Kanye music. I could take you on a Kanye tour like I did to Charlie, but there's a song, All Falls Down, and he just talks about how self-conscious he is. And he
put it all out there for everyone to see before he was, they were able to blackmail him. That's what
I'd rather be free. Yes, exactly. I had a pornography addiction. That's what he said. Yes, I did this.
Right.
My cousin stole my laptop and blackmailed me. I had to pay him. What he is doing is he's saying, I choose freedom. You can't embarrass me. I'd rather you embarrass me. I'd rather you say those things. This belongs to my life. None of us are perfect, but I'm not going to bend the knee to this.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. So another question I wanted to ask you before we move on to TPUSA is Daily Wire situation.
Yeah.
So you left Daily Wire. Well, you didn't leave Daily Wire. They fired you.
Got fired.
Yes. And since then, even though they fired you, they just cannot chill. And it is like, honestly, I don't know how you do it because it already disturbs me and I'm not even in this situation.
Candace Owens has been doing nothing but talking about Daily Wire and obsessing over them since this happened. Just nonstop, as much as she can. She talks about them, drags them, comes up with ways to attack them. That is like her ultimate thing. She does it all the time. So it's such hypocritical nonsense, you know what I mean, to say that. It's just crazy.
I'm like a bystander.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get over it, guys. Like, are you serious? So what's up with this?
People will one day know every detail of what the Daily Wire put me and my family through. It is a cult masquerading as a business. I come actually from the private equity world. So I worked at a real business prior to getting into politics. I worked for 4 years at a private equity firm in New York City.
She worked at a real business because the Daily Wire isn't a real business, apparently.
I cannot explain to you. This is a cult. You get fired, it's over. You can send it in an email. People don't build stages, gather around all of the other slaves and watch them hang you and prepare a video, as Jeremy Boring did, to show everybody. 15 minutes ago, we sent Candace an email and we fired her, and he starts playing clips of Nick Fuentes in this glorious town hall. That's not how you fire people to get started. Then to drag people through the court systems, and I am now vehemently against what is the arbitration, because now I understand what this is. It allows people who possess characteristics of sociopathic killers to just stalk you. They can just.
Okay, so the only thing that Daily Wire has done for arbitration has to do with her NDA and gag orders on her and certain things she can say about the company because of her NDA by being an employee there. So they had to get an injunction on that. That is the only thing that we have evidence for that's ever happened.
Keep bringing you back into court over and over and over and over and over again over every little infraction that is meant to psychologically and financially wear you down. This is what the Daily Wire did to me. And when I say every little infraction, I mean it can be in their head. It doesn't have to be real. They per your contract can drag you into court. So that was the next 2 years of my life was fighting them in arbitration court for things that I didn't do. I did not do these things. I will say the one thing I did do that I was guilty of, and actually, if we had made it to the hearing, I was going to admit, yeah, I did an episode defending Brett Cooper, and I stand by that. I don't need to lie to you. I owe you $300K because you harassed her and I have a backbone. Yeah, I will gladly ding me. I will pay you 300.
So we went through the Brett Cooper thing on episode 9 of my Candace Owens series, and I feel like that was a really good episode. I don't know if I made it super clear. I hope I did, but the parallels to when Candace Owens left and then started a smear campaign on Daily Wire and innuendos and stuff like that to get clicks and views was the exact same playbook almost that Brett Cooper did. And what it was like a whisper campaign a few weeks before she left. Little things started getting put out that she was having issues with her bosses at Turning or at Daily Wire, and just little whispers and whispers that she was, you know, going with in, like, ways that you couldn't exactly point out, but she was participating in it and fueling it, and then when she left, her friend, who was her producer, was going to go into the role of running that show, which is not it's a show that's owned by the Daily Wire, so they just needed somebody to be the new host of the comment section. Brett wanted to leave. She wanted to leave and go independent. So her friend was going to take her place. It's really not that big of a deal, but it was made into this big deal, this huge drama, and it was perpetuated by Candace Owens, and then little things that Brett did that couldn't necessarily be tied back to her, but that she, like I said, insinuated and fueled in a very calculated way. And when I started putting these pieces together, researching it for that video, I realized, oh my gosh, they had this is almost exactly what Candace does. I looked into it. They have the same PR manager, the PR crisis manager, Mitchell Jackson. And he is known for causing feuds between people in your industry to get likes and views and create what he calls a viral moment. And that's his specialty. And he became Brett Cooper's PR crisis manager in the weeks before she went independent. So in my mind, this was all a planned drama thing because then the drama created this viral moment around Brett Cooper so that when she left and started her own YouTube channel, she got 1 million subscribers in like just a couple weeks, less than a month because of this viral moment that they planned and put together. Do you see what I'm saying?
100K for standing up for a 22-year-old girl. And you know what? When this filing's over, I'm going to frame it and tell my kids that money's on everything.
So good. This is why people love you so much. You are just not only not afraid, but people can be stupidly not afraid and go for the wrong thing. No, you're like, no, there's much more things to this life than your own ass, money, and we're, I love it. I love it.
I made a conscious decision because I was watching them begin to do to her, who she does not have, she's not involved in the Israel-Palestine debate. Like, it's just not what she does. She just.
So to be clear, they literally did nothing to her. She left to be independent, had the same stuff, NDA, whatever. She left. Then her audience and small TikTokers and Candace Owens started pushing this crazy drama towards Daily Wire, and they made a whole narrative out of something that wasn't true. And if you just think about it, she wanted to go independent. She wanted to start her own show like Candace did. And then all they did was just put a person in her place. They did nothing. All the drama was started from Brett's viewers, Candace Owens, and people, around that sphere at Daily Wire and the new host of the comment section, Reagan. That's what happened. There's no evidence that they did anything to her. There's no online, trail that anybody was doing anything to Brett or attacking Brett. It was all attacking the Daily Wire and Reagan.
Pop culture stuff, but it's a cult. You're not allowed to leave. And so they will smear you and they want to destroy you on the way out. And so what I lived through with them, I'm actually happy now that we're at the end where people can see it publicly, because they're just now getting a glimpse when they brought back my channels, how weird that was. I'm like, you guys have not seen anything. Okay. You think that's weird? Them bringing back my social channels, doing, I think Jeremy's show, we actually counted. He's done 19 episodes.
They're just trolling you like you do everybody else. It's an internet culture meme thing.
Episodes 17 have been about me and Tucker. Like, okay, this is not a show.
These people are
This
obsessed.
is more stalking.
No, they haven't.
And the same lawyers that sued me for those 2 years is now Brian Harpole's lawyer. I know how this works. I get it. I understand what is happening. And if I have to be the person to demonstrate to people how this whole thing works, if my life has to go through it, I'm built for it. That's fine. Let the whole system crash and burn so that you can see it's all illusory. And that they can target and bankrupt and destroy people because they want to and they're a part of the machine. To me, this is like the Sentinels versus the human beings.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. They are obsessed to the point where I actually bet money with my friend that I was going to put out a post about Tucker. And I was like, just give it like a few hours. Lara Loomer will show up and do something. I won. I was like, this is how predictable you are. This is how predictable you are. I want money by betting on this. Like, are you crazy?
They hate Tucker with the same viciousness. And that started when I was at the Daily Wire. So I was aware. It was very strange. I've always liked Tucker. Tucker has always been good to me. And I mean, for years, before I worked for the Daily Wire, I was doing Tucker Carlson's show weekly, like every Tuesday. I kind of had to be on there. And Tucker, I forgot, Fox News will do this thing where they put people on ice. You can get like temporarily banned for something. And there was something I said that they put me temporarily, like banned me from Fox News. Tucker Carlson, don't care. He's number one show. I'll have her every time. He like stood by me. And so little things like that, you get to see someone's character. I didn't know him personally. I actually met Tucker Carlson. I have the video. Charlie introduced me to him. And I was sent it to Tucker actually the other week because I was going through my videos with Charlie. And I was like, only person I want to meet in politics is Tucker Carlson. And so he filmed it. And he's like, hey, Tucker, I want you to meet Candace. So that's who he is behind the scenes, where if he thinks that something is wrong, or that they've done you wrong, he's willing to stand up to the big guy, right? He's standing up to Fox News and saying, I'm going to still have Candace on my show every Tuesday. I don't care if you don't like what she said about COVID or whatever it was, prevailing narrative of the day. But they have similarly been obsessed with Tucker. And I don't know why. Tucker has done nothing to them.
Because both of you are good. I mean, look at this, Candace. You have everything that a person should strive forward, right? Like, and look for, like, you are a wife, you're a mother, you're young, you have business, you are happy, and you have your faith. Now, the same goes with Tucker. Tucker is a guy who never cheated on his wife, who's not going to. And I think that kills Lara Loomer. But, it's just how it is. And he's got everything a normal American should dream for and strive for and all of that. And I think they are jealous.
How could she possibly know something like that? How could you possibly know that Tucker's never cheated on his wife? I mean, I'm not saying he has. He probably hasn't. But how could you just state something like that?
And they're jealous that you guys are loved by people, and they are not. They're not.
And I think that it's also Tucker, and why I've always been a fan of his, is when he sort of told his whole story on Theo Vaughn about his alcoholism and like his wake up moment of realizing they hate that. They hate that. They want you to try to pretend that you are perfect and you've never made a mistake. No, you've made mistakes. Like you have, like, I'm like, guys, we can go back and we can find the files. You want the Candace files? I'll give them to you. That's what I'm doing my podcast every day. I'm not perfect. And by the way, I'm going to make more mistakes. There is going to be, I right now have 4 children in this world. They're going to then be teenagers. They're going to make mistakes, and I'm going to do my best to protect them and guide them.
4 children? What? With a gay man?
With a gay homosexual gangster, mind you. It's a lot happening. He's both a rap gangster, gun brandishing. Yeah, but he also is gay, Oxford. It's a lot going on.
He just has 4 kids though,
but it's always the immediate attack. They go for the family because they know that that's where the strength is. Like that's where the rock is. And when your family is good, and we love being parents. We didn't know that we would love it this much. You never know. And children are just such a joy. They're so funny. I mean, I could tell you every day the things that come out of their mouths as they're grappling with things. And a lot of these people don't know that joy because they're searching for something that is so empty. Like trying to get into Mar-a-Lago. Wow, guys, it's really kind of gaudy. The food's not that good. Right? I remember the first time I was like, this is it. And then I got there and I was like, it's like, all right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And that's why they're so miserable. And most of their work is.
She literally had her wedding there. Or her wedding reception, didn't she? Something like that.
Instead of actually working on something meaningful is trashing others. And people started saying it. That's why like Daily Wire is losing people because they don't want to watch this every single day. They are sick of it. So real quick, before we move on, when you first met Ben Shapiro, what was your reaction? Like, what was your analysis of the person?
I first met him with Charlie. It was another one of my favorite Charlie moments. I shared it, but it was, any person when they first got into the industry around that time, you actually looked up to Ben because this was when he was going viral with the clips, and Charlie and I were just started. So we had all these messages that I could show you. We were like, oh, it's so cool. Like Ben, I was like, I think Ben followed me on something. I don't remember what it was. And then like every person in politics, you get to know Ben, and that things change very quickly. And so it was the Kanye tweet. Anything up before April 2018, we were like, great, it'd be great to work with Ben. And then after the Kanye tweet, he's a very jealous and envious person. And rather than going, how can we work together? How do we make things bigger? You end up finding out that he's working behind the scenes and telling people not to work with you, and this is going to be a mistake, and she shouldn't be speaking to Kanye. And you don't know what Kanye means to people like me. You don't pretend to understand the culture at all. You don't understand. Like I wouldn't be in the circumstances.
I wouldn't, I don't imagine that this is false about Ben Shapiro. I'm actually not a huge fan of his, like, I don't actually like him all that much. I don't have anything super against him, but I do know that he's done that to other people.
It wasn't for Kanye's music giving me the courage to know there are so many kids growing up in crappy communities that are hearing someone say, you can break through, you can break through, you can be, you can be your own Superman and get out of this thing. And he's just like he is nag and
controlling, very controlling.
And he messaged Charlie and told him not to deal with me. I had showed messages on my show, and Charlie was like, he thinks like you're his slave. LOL, when I see Charlie again in heaven, I'm telling him to be like, bro. We had no idea how right you were when you sent that message.
Wow.
Like, I'm like a slave who escaped this plantation is how I feel right now. And they just got there on horseback trying to find me. You know what I mean? It's been like years. And I'm like, man, I think you just gotta let this slave go. I think she's fully up north,
Yeah,
But yeah,
crazy.
so it was after that Ben did a flip. And so but then he sort of noticed that he couldn't kind of stop the rise. And so Charlie and I did Ben's show. We were in LA in Sherman Oaks, which is where Daily Wire used to be based. And I remember Charlie was just like, okay, when we get there, when we take a photo with him, I'm going to stand up real tall and puff out my chest. So he looks super extra small. And I was like, do it. I said, do it. And the photo is hilarious. That was who Charlie was. Like, he was never like, we're going to be super mean or try to ruin this guy's life. We're going to get this photo. So we always remember that we triumphed him in this room. And then we won the show. And he's just a jokester. He's totally a jokester like that.
Ben is the same way with everything. I mean, look at what he does with the nation. He tells them what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. It's like, who put you in charge exactly? Mm-hmm. Who are you, dude? Like, he's telling American people, well, you are wrong to want good for America because Israel comes first. He never said exactly these words, but that's where he's going. Like, we support Israel. We should support Israel. Who are you to decide who American people should support? Like, who are you?
It's really operative. And I think that, and you can fact check this.
Well, Ben Shapiro is also an American. He's an American Jewish person, so he has a right to speak and say whatever he wants. And just as much as you do, or Candace, or whoever, me, he's an American. They make this, like, I don't know, I get this, like, feeling that they pretend like Jews aren't actually American, like American-born, just people who happen to be Jewish aren't actually Americans is how they talk about them and act about them. It's so weird.
But I was told when I was at the Daily Wire that his uncle is the one that sold all the uranium to Israel, stole all of our uranium. Zalman Shapiro. He ended up not being charged for it because I think he like pled anti-Semitism in court or something, but he did sell all of our uranium. So this is who.
Okay, so this is, I'm pretty sure, an outright lie. She does that a lot. She doesn't understand that just because you have the same last name doesn't mean you're necessarily related. His name is Zalman Shapiro. In the mid-1960s, the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation in Apollo, Pennsylvania, had a massive unexplained losses of highly enriched uranium, estimates from 200 to 600 pounds. It's a lot. Enough for multiple nuclear bombs. Multiple. Like hundreds. Shapiro founded and ran NUMEC. He was a strong Zionist and close ties with Israel officials, scientists, and intelligence. The company had contracts and shipments related to Israel. So then there was like U.S. investigations. Shapiro was never charged with anything, and always denied diversion. He died in 2016. The case remains officially unresolved. Okay, so I asked, is he related to Ben Shapiro? Because there's lots of people with the last name Shapiro who aren't related. And it says, no, he was not related to Ben Shapiro. The claim that Zalman Mordecai Shapiro was Ben Shapiro's uncle is a viral rumor heavily pushed in 2026 by Candace Owens and amplified in conspiracy anti-Shapiro online circles. They just make stuff up. Candace Owens makes up a lot of stuff, and then the conspiracy world, like, picks it up from her and spreads it and even makes, like, fake documents and stuff, and a lot of times it just came from Candace Owens. She just literally makes stuff up.
Who and what his family is, and this is what he was raised to believe, that he's chosen. And so I think when you are raised with that philosophy of thinking that everything is yours, that you should be allowed to steal and rape and kill and take people's property because you're promised something, chosen by whom? Satan.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Obviously,
whom?
if you can do this to children,
Yeah.
and
So the Jewish concept of being the chosen people is like this completely like she's misconstruing it completely. It's like this weird story about how, it's like a Jewish lore, but it's like they're chosen to be the people who do good in the world. Like what she's saying right there is just utterly crazy, but
you genuinely believe that you have a separate, as the Talmud instructs, that you have a separate spirit. They're animals, you're not. By the way, I wouldn't treat an animal as they treat the Palestinians,
Right.
just to be clear.
Right.
And actually, when you watch their behavior, the deep irony is they can't think through, no, you have the spirit of animals. Look at you. Look at what you're doing. And not even an animal would do the things that you are doing right now in Palestine. They have some sort of reverence that is ingrained in them as creatures that were created by God. And so they can't work through, the people that support Israel can't work through the fact that you possess the spirit of animals, because look at what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, facts are facts. And Ben Shapiro might say, like, well, I'm not doing it. I'm sitting in a studio and whatever. But you're supporting the people who are doing when you have the power to stop them. And that's almost
He
worse.
hosted Bibi
Yes.
Netanyahu on his
Yes.
show.
so she's saying that Jews believe this, but then she's just doing the same thing, saying that she's just calling all these humans the spirit of animals, that they're animals. It's just hypocrisy.
And
Yes.
will,
Criminal,
without
by the way.
blinking, a
Actual
actual criminal, without
Yeah.
blinking,
Yeah.
will say that Tucker Carlson's a monster.
Yeah.
Who has Tucker Carlson ever hurt? He will say Nick Fuentes is the worst thing that ever happened. How many people has Nick Fuentes killed?
Nobody.
Okay, so I think Bibi Netanyahu is worse than Nick Fuentes. Does that like generally make sense to the population?
Absolutely.
That the bigger threat would
Yeah.
be the person that's now bombing Lebanon and stealing. They should constantly steal and then tell us that they're more successful because they're better at business. You're thieves. We're thieves and murderers trying to convince us that it's righteous murder and righteous theft.
Right. And doing it poorly
So
too.
that's what you inherit. If you and to be clear, there are a ton of Jews who do not support this, and it's the
Absolutely.
numbers are now astounding of people that email me, rabbis that email me, Jewish Americans that watch this show. I think early on they were like, "Oh no, this is about not wanting the Holocaust to happen." They now see what's happening, and they want nothing to do with that.
And Israel does not represent all Jews. I worked with a Jew. Like my boss was a Jew.
Mhm.
And Candace, I can explain. Well, actually, I can't explain what was going on in his head. He never once told me to shut up.
Mhm.
Like when I started talking about Israel and Palestine and all this, I know that every single time we had a meeting, he was so uncomfortable because he's Israeli Jew.
Mm.
And he's like, he wants me to talk, but at the same time, he's got all this like family and distant family and all this. And I just felt sorry for him. I told him, like, I just feel so sorry for you.
Right.
I know you're, on the right side. And, we avoided this conversation, but his support was not like, oh, Elizabeth, go talk about it. His support was, I'm going to shut up.
Right. And I
That
think
was his
it's
support.
really
Yeah.
also shown a light on Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
we're talking about Zionists, let's be clear, the majority of them are Christian in America. And I'm sickened by them. I am sickened by the idea that I ever supported or platformed Ali Stuckey, right? As she is lecturing people perpetually and turning a blind eye to what is happening in Israel because she is convinced of some promise that, like, I don't know, she's going to be top goyim or something like that, top goy. And you sit here and you lecture people about abortion being wrong, murdering children, but you go, this is, if it happens here, it's fine. Okay, now we're in Lebanon.
Yeah, and now it's okay to murder a 40-year-old. It's fine, like, because now it's for a cause, whatever that cause might be, right? It's just so ridiculous. But okay, real quick, there's a deep question, but you can take it wherever you want. I always thought that Netanyahu was its own puppet in a way. And the real control was always here in the United States with the Zionists, like Christian Zionists and some Jewish Zionists, who knows? And because
If you know anything about geopolitics and not this retarded geopolitics that we see from conspiracy theorists, but like actual geopolitics, you will know that Israel is a proxy state of America and the military industrial complex. Okay, it doesn't take a whole lot of research and studying history and the wars and stuff to know that Israel is a proxy of America and they use them as a hammer there in the Middle East, okay? they've written papers about this, the 2009 Pathway to Persia paper and stuff like that. Okay, so yes, they are a proxy to America. We are the world superpower, and the idea of thinking that Jews are behind everything, are they a powerful lobby group? Yes. Are there powerful Jews in America that are donors that have sway over politicians? Yes. But ultimately, it is America that's making the decisions, and they have a plan mapped out that they've had planned for a really long time, and they use Israel to do it because it's cheaper. All the blame gets put on them, and they get a lot of money. All the money that's given to them is put back into the military industrial complex that goes into the pockets of the politicians. Okay, so if you can't figure that out, then I don't know what to tell you. You just don't know anything.
Take Adelson or take Larry Fink or take all these people who are supporting this cause from afar. They're all here in the United States. None of them choose to go and live in Israel. So the power is here. And even if, tomorrow Israel doesn't exist anymore, they are still just fine. They're going to survive. So do you think that it's driven by the deep state in here, what's going on with Israel? And Israel is just a fakely put together state as a tool, to carry out whatever they, need?
No, I think that their project is heavenly Jerusalem. I think Greater Israel is the plan, and they want to expand and their borders from all the way through to Ukraine. Ukraine is a piece of this puzzle, an obvious piece of this puzzle. There's no war between Ukraine and Russia. There is a genocide of Christians taking place. They're just going to mass murder the Ukrainian Christians. And
Okay, so I heard a clip of this on the other channel that I was watching. So this is all ridiculous, like nonsense that she's about to say, just utter nonsense. She's trying to tie Ukraine to the state of Israel, and that their plan is not to take Ukraine. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in my life. Ukraine was a government playground for our deep state. It's super, super corrupt. You have to be extremely careful with anything about Russia, China, etc. There's so much propaganda around it that it's hard to sort through what's really going on and what's really not going on. Putin is an Orthodox Christian. He is not killing Orthodox Christians and stuff over there. That's actually some of the stuff that was happening with Ukraine. The government in the western part of Ukraine was doing that early on in the war. I don't know if they still are or whatever, but like they were raiding churches, Orthodox churches over there because they were Russian Orthodox. Because the whole western or the whole eastern part of Ukraine is mostly Russian ethnic, like straight up Russian. They speak Russian, et cetera, et cetera. The Ukrainian west part of Ukraine hates Russians. They're like super against Russia. All this is like historical. I can't get into it all, but there's historical reasons why there is this pent up anger between the two ethnic groups, and the United States helped foster and fuel that anger with Western Ukraine onto the Eastern Ukraine. And they want to just, everything she's about to say here is just so utterly ridiculous and nonsense. And also, the Khazarian theory that she believes in is also not true. You can go look it up. It is completely debunked and falsified many times. There was a tribe of people in that region back in like the 7th century that were between the Ottoman Empire and this other empire, and they had Muslims on one side and Christians on the other, and they wanted to do their own thing, so they converted to Judaism, but not really. It wasn't like they weren't serious about it, and they didn't, whatever. And then it didn't last very long because the hordes came down and like wiped them out, and whoever was left got absorbed into like other steppe tribes back then. There's no record of them ever moving to Germany. Like none of that, all that is just made up nonsense. But it's an old conspiracy theory.
they're going to move other people in. That's the most obvious thing to me. There's no sense to what they're doing. It's just like, how are we going to do a genocide and make it look like it's not, well, we're going to sign them up for war. That they know they're just going to kill a bunch of them, and then we're going to move in our people. And that is what makes the most sense, because what is today modern Ukraine used to be a very Jewish area. I mean, we could get into like Russian history and the Pale of Settlement.
Oh yeah, and you're not the only one who said that. There was actually a Russian politician who predicted this, who said well, Ukraine will be prepped for the Jews,
Mhm.
for this like
Mhm.
cabal that's operating behind the scenes. So yes, I agree with you. Okay, keep
Absolutely.
going. Yeah.
So that's the way that I see it. So in terms of Israel, I think you kind of have to go back to what was happening upon the European continent before that, and you got to go backwards to why this group of people who are now in Israel were being kicked out of so
Right.
many nations. And I've been begging people who are studious and Jewish to look into this massive movement where they had a false messiah named Jacob Frank. Then this gets into Sabbatianism and Frankism. That is the key to everything. This is not Judaism at all. It's mystic Judaism, if you will, if you could say it's Jewish mystical tradition. Get into what Sigmund Freud was. This is where you're getting is not it's mysticism full stop. And initiation, Jewish mystical tradition, get into what Sigmund Freud was. This is where you're getting their initiation rites, the harming of children. This is not it's mysticism full stop. And studying Sabbatianism and Frankism made me understand what was happening.
Talks about this all the time. She has this crazed up theory that she associates this weird sect. Let's look it up. Let's look it up because then it'll help remind me like how to frame this. But this is like a crazy thing where she connects Sigmund Freud and all this stuff, and it's something she's been into for a while, and she like wholeheartedly this is like one of her worldviews. Okay, so this is interesting. So let's learn about this whole thing because this really is one of her strong world beliefs, and I feel like that's why she thinks, a lot of the things that she does and how she pieces things together. So, this even, like, what she just said about Ukraine and Poland and all that, links to this, um, thing. Okay, so the Frankists, or sometimes called Zoroastrists, were followers of Jacob Frank, which was in the 1726 to 1791 timeframe, a Polish Jewish religious leader who founded a radical antinomian messianic movement in the mid 18th century. Okay, so this antinomianism, this is important. Okay, so he wasn't the only, this was a cult. Okay, it's not like he came up with this. This is a thing, and that's how they connect him to Sigmund Freud is because of this antinomianism. So it's a theological doctrine asserting that Christians are freed from the obligation to obey moral, civil, or religious laws through God's grace and salvation by faith alone. The term derived from the Greek words anti, against, and nomos, law, and it describes the belief that obedience to divine law is unnecessary for the saved, as good works are not required for justification. The term was coined by Martin Luther during the Reformation. This is a way of twisting like certain truths, right? So it is true that you are saved by grace and faith alone, right? But that doesn't mean you should just sin. You should have the Holy Spirit in you that convicts you. It's not like you're gonna be perfect and you will sin. But if you become born again and you're saved, you shouldn't be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna keep living a crazy sinful life." You should have the drive to not do that. But this is like taking it to the nth degree. This is like, libertines that are like, their whole philosophy was just to live in like the most raunchous lifestyle during the Reformation to criticize extreme interpretations of his soteriology by Johannes Agricola, who argued that the law was futile for Christians and that repentance stemmed solely from faith, not from the conviction of sin provided by the law. Well, the Holy Spirit convicts you of sin. Okay, beyond Christianity, the term has been applied to various religions or secular views that reject established moral or legal norms, such as certain Gnostic practices or specific mystical traditions in other faiths. So, this is where it comes in for our discussion here. Okay. Frankism emerged as an extreme offshoot of Sabbatianism. The early Messianic movement centered on Sabbatai Zevi in 1626 to 1676, who claimed to be the Messiah but converted to Islam. Frank claimed to be the reincarnation of Zevi and the biblical Jacob, positioning himself as the third and final messianic figure. So this was a cult, and cults have been around since the beginning of time. There were all kinds of like cults and sects even in Jesus's time, and even going back to ancient Greece, there was cults. The dude that made the Pi how do you say it? The Pythagoras, triangle, the Pyth you guys know what I'm talking about. It's so late. I'm so tired. We're probably gonna have to break this, video in 2, but he was a, cult member. He was, the leader of a cult, back then that was like this weird hippie cult. So the location of this place was started in Podolia, then part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, now Western Ukraine, within a within or near the Pale of Settlement region. So the Pale of Settlement region was this region. I was gonna go into it, but there's just too much, this video will be like 9 hours long. But it was just this region of the Russian Empire where Jews were forced to live, like, they were cast out into this area. It was, like, started when Catherine the Great, like, seized certain territory, and then it, like, eventually became this settlement of Jewish people. It spread among Jewish communities in Poland, Galatia, and parts of Central Eastern Europe. Okay, so they believed these are their key beliefs and practices in antinomianism. Frank taught that true spiritual redemption required deliberately breaking all moral and religious laws, purification through transgression. This including rejecting the Talmud and the traditional Jewish law in favor of a higher Torah based on Kabbalah, especially the Zohar. Okay, so this gets into like Zoroastrianism. It was a mystical sect of that. This is all complicated stuff, right? But this is basically a cult back in this time period. Blended elements of Judaism, Christianity, and even Islam. Followers engaged in secretive, often scandalous rituals. Historical accounts from their opponents described sexual promiscuity, orgies, and symbolic acts meant to invert norms. In 1759, Frank and thousands of followers publicly converted to Catholicism in Poland. In one of the largest mass conversions in Jewish history, they did this while secretly maintaining their own beliefs, using it for protection and influence. Frank himself was baptized with the Polish king as godfather. Frank was imprisoned by the church in 1760 to 1763, but later lived in luxury courts in Brunn and in Germany, basically, maintaining a court of followers who treated him and later his daughter Eva as divine. So he had a cult following. At its peak, the movement had tens of thousands of adherents and influenced debates, including public disputations that led to Talmud burnings. After Frank's death in 1791, his daughter Eva led briefly, but the organized movement faded by the early 19th century. Some descendants assimilated into Polish nobility or society, and traces lingered in secret networks. Mainstream Jewish communities viewed Frankists as dangerous heretics. Scholars like this guy, Gershom Scholem, saw Frankism as a radical and nihilistic endpoint of Sabbatean messianism. Today, it's mostly studied in Jewish history and mystic contexts. In modern online discourse, especially conspiracy circles, Frankism is sometimes exaggerated or linked to broader hidden elite theories, but historically, it's a specific 18th century heretical Jewish sect that largely dissolved centuries ago. So it's really not like a thing anymore. So I was like, what does this have to do with Sigmund Freud? Sigmund Freud has uh, no proven direct family or personal connection to the Frankists. the followers of Jacob Frank. However, this is a notable intellectual and interpretive link discussed by scholars and in conspiracy oriented circles. This guy, David Bachman's 1958 book, Sigmund Freud and the Jewish Mystical Tradition, this is probably the book that she's referring to. And it's just this guy had a theory that Freud's psychoanalysis, his ideas about the unconscious, repression, sexual drives, and liberation through confronting taboos shows parallel with Sabbatean Frankist thought. But it's just the antinomianism, which so this guy's just he has a theory and there's no actual ties other than this guy being like, "Oh, this is similar to this," but this Frankist, cult is similar to mini cults, like, they all kinda do that. There's cults in California right now where they do this kinda stuff, and they, liberate sexual stuff, and then it ends up you're just sleeping with the cult leader and having orgies with him while he is just crazy and gross and weird. Frankism's core doctrine of redemption through sin, antinomianism, deliberately breaking religious and moral laws to achieve spiritual elevation, echoes in Freud's emphasis on freeing repressed instincts and viewing civilization as built on repression of primal urges. Freud secularized mystical Kabbalistic ideas into a scientific psychological framework, turning messianic, overturning the old order into the therapeutic one. This is also like a lot of leftism. I mean, Frankist's focus on transgression, hidden truths, and inverting norms is seen as a precursor to Freud's everything about sex and the forbidden. Top scholar of Jewish mysticism studied Frankism extensively, but did not strongly endorse the direct Freud link. Others have drawn looser connections. Freud himself was staunchly secular and anti religious. He identified as Jewish culturally, but rejected Judaism, the Talmud, and mysticism publicly. His family was from Galatia, Western Ukraine, Eastern Poland area, and which was the hotbed for Sabbatean and Frankist activity in the 18th and 19th centuries. So cultural echoes in that environment are plausible, and that is kind of not atypical. So things that philosophers will say and do, well, then another philosopher will pick it up, and there will be remnants of those ideas that spread throughout time and place. So you can trace, like, for example, you can trace Marxism to Hegelianism and Hegelianism all the way back to that cult I was just talking about with Pythagoras. And they all kind of drew ideas from each other and then turning it into like their own thing as you move on through history. In modern online discussions around Sabbatean and Frankism as a secret elite cult, people claim Freud was a crypto Frankist carrying on the tradition of moral subversion through psychology. These claims often exaggerate Bacon's thesis and lack hard evidence. They treat Freud as part of a long chain of Frankist influence on modernity, along with Marx and the Frankfurt School. So, Marx and the Frankfurt School had nothing to do with the Frankists. It's just that the town they were in was Frankfurt, and that's why it was called that, but people, like, associate because it has the word Frank in it with I've studied all that connection that people make, and there's not a real thing. The link is thematic and interpretive, not genealogical or proven membership. It's mainly scholars noting how Frankism's radical ideas about breaking taboos may have indirectly shaped the intellectual soil from which Freud emerged. Freud never mentioned Jacob Frank or claimed any such influence. Okay, we've only made it not even halfway through this yet. So hopefully, I feel like this is going to be really long and I'm really tired. So let's just see if we can get a little bit farther.
You had Frankists who were at war, by the way, with Jews. No one wants to speak about this. This is actually what was happening in Poland. They were at war with the Jews because they said this is an old philosophy, the Torah, we don't want to follow the old law. And in comes this radical Jacob Frank. And once you begin looking into Jacob Frank, you will fully understand the picture. I believe, and with a lot of evidence, that Theodor Herzl was himself a Frankist. I don't believe his children committed suicide. He likely raped them, is what my research shows me, because through Sigmund Freud sent him help for one of his daughters or whatever on how to deal with her. But what Sigmund Freud was doing, and which has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, his contribution was gaslighting kids who were actually being raped by their parents. Okay. And this was a part of the Frankist ceremonial rites. Like to initiate, you had to show yourself that you could violate the law. It's a form of Gnosticism, right? You have to plunge yourself and show yourself that everything is a figment. There's no such a thing as like good and evil. So
Okay, so, like, Frank was involved in this weird, or not Frank, Sigmund Freud had this, like, weird theory that the maladies, like, the mental issues that some of his female patients were having was from regressed, like, they forgot memories of their parents, like, or others, like, SAing them and stuff like that, and then later in his life, he changed his mind on that and then said that it was all that the memories were fake, sorta like how there's this debate nowadays about, like, when people do these weird regress memory, like going like the hypnotism and stuff, and then they come up with all these ideas, and then, it's almost like people are saying you're kinda planting in that in their head. So then he changed his mind on that whole theory he had, and then that drew backlash of people, like, accusing him of protecting, like, the abusers of victims or something. It was like a scandal, whatever, I don't know. It's like, history is weird, people are weird, like, who this was in, like, the 1800s, and people were into, like, all kinds of that's when you had all the weird mysticism and people trying to contact ghosts, and, like, all kinds of crazy weird stuff was going on back then.
you have to plunge yourself into the depths, and then they believe that from unholiness, holiness will arise. And if that sounds crazy to you and new to you, you should look into Jacob Frank. None of this is made up. This is all very real. There's no doubt that I'm talking about Sigmund Freud, practiced sedationism. So when I see what is happening, I believe that these Frankists have been masquerading as Jews. They've mixed in amongst Jews for a very long time. Infiltrations happen. I want to be clear. They also infiltrated the Catholic Church.
Absolutely,
Jacob Frank mass
absolutely.
converted when they were
Yes.
at warring with the Jews, the Torah Jews in Poland. They said, "Oh, protect us from the Jews. We'll convert to Christianity." And the bishop at that time mass converted a bunch of the Frankist community into Catholics. Right,
Yeah.
very important part of Catholic history. Catholics need to trace where those families went that mass converted into Catholicism. Jacob Frank became a baron. He was based in Offenbach, Germany. He was given his own castle. The rumor, and there's a lot of evidence to support the rumor, is that he was being funded by the Rothschilds. Okay. Yeah, and the Montefiore family, the Rothschilds, they moved into each other, the banking dynasty that were bankrolling him. And one of the strategies, though, one of the tenets of Frankism is to false convert. They practice false converting into other faiths. So it becomes increasingly difficult to track who these people are who are wearing. They're pretending that they are Muslim, they're pretending that they are Jewish, and they're pretending that they are
Absolutely.
Christian.
Infiltration was their best skill. I
Yeah,
absolutely agree with you. And I have not studied Frankism, but I studied other secret societies. And what you are telling me right now is exactly
they worship
exactly how
all.
it,
Yeah,
yes.
they worship all.
So for a person out there listening right now, and if they've never done any research in this, you just have to either go and do it yourself or take our word for it. Because I worked for like 6 years on Kennedy assassination, and it took me in places I never thought. And so you're
They
absolutely right.
established Hollywood. Right.
Yes.
So it's a different name of who's leading it because they believe in reincarnation. But like this is what Aleister Crowley was. Aleister Crowley, this is the occult. It is full stop occult worship. And I'm so glad that people are beginning to have this conversation today, because if you
Yes.
don't understand the theology, it seems crazy to you. It didn't seem crazy to me at all
Right.
when the young women who testified in the Knesset were talking about the ritualistic abuse that happened to them when they were 3 years old in Israel. It's just now become a big issue in Israel that they're saying that these rabbis are taking them into, I think, the woods, the forest, and performing these rapes and initiations at the age of 3. And you can go watch their testimonies that this is real. Like I said, it's happening now. And for the first time, it seems like the Knesset is taking it seriously because too many people are saying that it's happening. That might sound crazy to you if you haven't studied Frankism or studied the occult, but that's all very real. And if people don't tether themselves to that reality and they allow people to keep saying that what is actually a religion is a conspiracy, we are never going to be able to wake up to what happened. It is why I discussed the elements of Charlie's assassination as being occult ritualistic. That's obvious to me. There are way too
That is actually a thing that's going on over in Israel. They had some, hearings on it where people that are from, like, ultra, religious Orthodox sects in Israel are testifying that these things happened to them when they were young, involving, like, members of their community and rabbis and stuff like that, and it's, like, an ongoing investigation. So we'll just have to see what comes of that, but I had heard about that.
too many themes of human sex trafficking in the story. It doesn't make sense that everybody is involved in charity of human sex trafficking charity. Like all of your friends do this, all of your friends are involved in human sex trafficking charity. Something doesn't smell right. So I very much believe that.
So she's tying Erica Kirk and her charities with orphanages where they were sending gifts. Basically, it's like, a lot of churches do this where they wrap gifts and then they send them overseas and stuff. She's tying that somehow to which I looked into that and it was all very tenuous. Like there were some allegations of something that happened on like a base that really doesn't have anything to do with what Erica was doing, but she like uses her word magic to make all these ties that aren't really there. So that's what she's doing there.
Israel as the modern state was created by the Rothschilds as a safe haven for a lot of these demonic occult Bolsheviks that came in. I could, don't even get me started on the Bolsheviks and who they were, what they were. They were not Russian. They hated Russians. They hated Christians, and they mass murdered tens and millions of Christians.
Well, they killed their king. Let's
yeah,
they killed.
Okay, so what she's saying right there is not true. So the Bolsheviks were a party in Russia during like in the early 1900s. So there was, they had there's a political parties like all throughout history, right? So they were part of this one big party called the Democratic Socialist Party of Russia. And then inside of that party, they formed a smaller fraction that then became slightly bigger than the other faction inside the Democratic Socialists of Russia. They declared themselves the majority of that party. And so that's what Bolshevik means, is the majority. And in that party, because it was a leftist party and Jews tend to lean more leftist throughout all of history, there were some Jews in that party. So I think the party at its biggest was like 23,000 members, and there was less than 1,000 that were Jews. And there were these pogroms going on that the Tsar and the Reds or the Whites, there was this group, I think they were the Whites. So they were doing these pogroms on Jewish communities back then. So part of the appeal of joining the Bolsheviks was that they were going to be like against that, like a party against that, what was going. This is all like extreme historical nuanced, like you need to like actually know about it and what she's saying about it and what and I know about this because this is what conspiracy theorists that are of this particular mindset say about the Bolsheviks is not true historically. So, um, like
The Tsar, they extorted Russian, they took Russian gold, gave it to Europe. Yes,
yes,
all
they
of
steal.
this is,
they constantly steal, and then they reemerge somewhere else, and they wear a different mask.
You know what's crazy? People have no problem believing what happened with Epstein, right? Like, it's okay. Okay, so yeah, that's true because government also admitted and said that, oh, well, yeah, a bunch of people were raped and all of this. And, okay, so this part of history is not true, but that is, and you have no problem imagining that that could be true, but you have a problem imagining that the same thing is going on with other kind of clans and groups. Like, where is the logic here? It escapes me.
Well, it really goes back to the time of Egypt. And so when you even
actually, like most of the stuff that people have mythologized around the whole Epstein thing isn't actually true. It's a huge mess to try to get through it. But like, yeah, so much that we thought about that back in the day when this really came up and then got mythologized is like legitimately like false. So, and I'm not going to get into it. It's such a controversial topic, but yeah.
Look at the construction, the symbolism is everything to them. It is everything to them.
Yes.
And so when you look at the construction of the little Egyptian type temple that he had on his island, that's a cult. And so I know it's actually from a movie, but when Kevin Spacey says the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people that he didn't exist, that's American Western society today. Ancient civilizations always understood this stuff was real. And for thousands and thousands of years, people understood that this was real, that spiritual battles were real. What they did post-World War II was turn us into this sort of modern, fickle surface society that thinks that, oh, that's just for the movies. Oh, witches are for dress up. Oh, spells. Everything's hocus pocus. No, it's not hocus pocus. This stuff is very real. These people practice occult worship. They practice ceremonies. And you are not going to be safe or prepared to begin to comprehend what we are dealing with and what we are fighting unless you begin to pierce that layer and to look at how long these ancient practices have been happening all the way through to our society
today. It's always mocking God, like always mocking God. If they are such a fairy tale and nothing's to it, why did the French government or whoever organized the Olympics felt the need to mock Jesus? If none of this is real, do something else. I don't know, get a ballerina to perform or something. Why do you feel like you need to mock Jesus exactly the way you did? It
has to happen that way because it's all about the revelation of the method. These people are psychopaths, right? They are truly psychopaths, and a part of. And I've now got tons of people who have sent me older Freemason Bibles. I wish I could just take another 2 years to study Freemasonry now that I know that all of these people were Freemasons, like Sigmund Freud and Ibarith. But they have to kind of wink at you and let you know they're doing it. It's part of the trick is then gaslighting you about the fact that it happened and going, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh, you believe that 33 could mean something? Yeah, I actually know 33-degree Freemasonry is something. And then what did we have happen right after they mocked it? France had the case that's going on right now where there was an international assassin squad linked to a Freemason lodge. Yes, people, it happens. It's going on and linked to their government. This is all real and linked to their military. And I go, oh, when Candace said it on her show, it was completely crazy. Fast forward a month and now it's making its way through the courts.
Absolutely.
It's never stopped. It relies on your stupidity. It relies on your trigger reaction when you hear conspiracy. That was CIA term that they developed post JFK.
Of course. Conspiracy theorist was there. Yes.
Theories. Yeah. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a tinfoil hat head.
Right.
Take out your tinfoil hats. Happy to wear one. I'm not going to be an idiot. I know the game that these people are playing.
Exactly. And Epstein was a conspiracy not so long ago. Remember that?
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. And if someone wants to know like how serious this is, they might not trust Candace Owens, but how about Catholic Church and Vatican itself? Huh? So I interviewed very very high-ranking Masons in DC, and they themselves told me a story that I was like, oh, that happened really? And that doesn't bring up question marks to you guys? So apparently Vatican called them and invited them to go over to Vatican and talk to the leadership because they suspected that Freemason branch out somewhere was orchestrating protests and trying to get some kind of coup going. So they actually called people in DC, Masons in DC, come over here and explain yourselves.
Wow. And I can tell you it's so funny because a priest gave me a gift when I was in Wyoming. He gave me a book and I haven't had time to read it yet. Gosh, it makes me want to look it up, but it's called Murder in the 33rd Degree.
Oh yeah, I know the book.
Okay,
oh,
so
yes.
I haven't read it yet, but and because I was speaking to him about all of my study into Freemasonry and speaking about how it's really important for us to go back and to learn which families were baptized into the Catholic Church that were Frankists when that happened, and I don't know how to begin that pursuit of getting records, but I just imagine the Vatican could, and that it is how your world is run. Absolutely. It's how it's always been run, and we just recently read a book in my book club just to kind of get people into understanding where it started with like Francis Bacon and I guess you could say more modern Freemasonry with Francis Bacon in the 12th century. And so I think now Americans, I think 10 years ago you couldn't have had this discussion, but now they're going, things are crazy. And I do think that something about Charlie Kirk's death catalyzed that understanding.
Absolutely. And before that, COVID and all this stuff, right? So people are slowly waking up and no one calls anybody from Vatican for no reason to show up and answer questions,
right? Especially
Masons, like highest ranking Masons in Washington, D.C., like, explain yourselves,
right.
Like what's going on, right?
Very true.
So yeah, and to bring this back to TPUSA now, who I think they are directly in war with you for God knows why. I mean, their CEO died. You would think they want to investigate and be like, how can we help Candace Owens here? So instead, they are accusing you.
For God knows why. Are you serious right now? How could you say that with a straight face? How could you? She made a series called The Bride of Charlie. Very shortly after all this started, she immediately started attacking Turning Point USA and all of Charlie's friends and family, and then his wife, who she has not stopped, basically nonstop attacking and insinuating and causing all this unnecessary drama into her life or around her name. Oh, I can't imagine why, and they barely address her. They barely mention it at all. They stay mostly out of all this nonsense.
That somehow you hurt their organization. Obviously, they will never come out and say, well, our organization is going down because of one person.
There's this thing called tortuous interference into businesses and this thing called slander and libel. Elizabeth Lane, you might want to research that since you're so good at research.
So, and an organization that can be brought down because of one person maybe shouldn't exist at all. Right? How about that? So, but if that's true, right? Why do you think that why do you think they are so like hate.
So they're just laughing and joking about wanting the demise of their supposed person. She really, even though she had no idea who he was, and Candace Owens, who was his best friend, they're just laughing at the demise, which isn't really happening. Like the company's fine. They're laughing at they're wanting the demise of this country and just or of this company and just laughing at it. It's so sick. Like these people are so disgusting.
Hateful towards you when all you're doing is just trying to answer questions, maybe not even solve the damn case, trying to maybe fill the holes that are left in this investigation. That's really all you're doing.
You know, one person cannot destroy an organization, one lie can. And that is how I see Turning Point USA. And what I find often with people who are engaged in this sort of behavior is that there is always this level of arrogance that accompanies it. And you have to imagine you're them. It's the biggest assassination, bigger than JFK, because they didn't have, everyone felt like they were there for the assassination because it's happening through our screens. It didn't have this technology. People are watching this on TikTok and watching this on X and watching this on YouTube. And everyone felt a spiritual pull, people who didn't know him on the other side of the world. I mean, Vladimir Putin made remarks about Charlie's assassination. Think about that. So for them, they went into this, and this explains the giddiness and the joy that they had at the memorial, that this energy is all going to be harnessed for us. It's that we are Charlie's organization. We are Charlie, I think was kind of the shirts they were selling, right? And this is going to mean.
No, it was all about the revival of, Christianity. That's what it was all about. It was about a revival and people bringing, like his death, bringing people to Jesus Christ. That's what that was all about. That was what the messaging was. That's what everyone was talking about. And then you didn't like that, and so you had to come in and interfere with that. And it's not going to go good for you, I don't think, because you're really messing with God when you do that kind of thing.
And it did immediately mean in the beginning more money for us, and we've arrived. And then the truth peered in, and people said something's not right here.
They arrived. The organization was already a huge political organization that Charlie Kirk had made. It was already had arrived. Like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh. The way she says things, it's so, I don't even have like the correct word for it, but it's disgusting.
And so it ended up being that they could not actually effectively harness that energy. They could not control it, which they should have known that, because that energy was Charlie's. And Charlie would have never given his energy to a lie. So people sat there, they had money, they had power, they had access. Erica can pick up the phone and call the FBI. You start to get high on your own supply. Nothing can take us down. You can imagine how they felt. It's us. He was at this office every day. And then people.
This is so disgusting. This is disgusting.
I'll never forget Taylor Lorenz's tweet where she said, "Why do I feel like Candace Owens is the only one who actually cared about him?" Think about that. Think about how crazy that is that she said this.
Oh my
God. So everyone's watching it and she's going, "That was weird. Why do I feel like Candace was the only one who actually cared about him?" And I'm sitting here going, "Hey guys, like, are we teaming up? Are we going to try to figure out?" And no, it wasn't there. There was no desire. And so they blame me for being authentic, because maybe they could have pulled it off if Candace had just gone along with the narrative.
They did not anticipate.
Pulled what off?
Just get on it. So, okay.
They could have pulled what off if you didn't get in the way? What could they have pulled off? What could they have pulled off? What could they have pulled off? The assassination of Charlie Kirk? She's so disgusting, you guys. It makes me so sick. Just, I don't know how you can become to this point as a human being. Like, I mean, I know that there's a lot of evil people out there that do a lot of evil stuff, but like, how could you get to this point in your life like this? It's just so sad.
Okay, I want to play a little game here. So Eve TP USA did some things differently because they blame you. They really want to blame you and say like, "Oh, Candace destroyed whatever we built." Okay, great. I believe personally that they themselves destroyed it in their lies and all this, right? So, okay, let's play a little game. Eve TP USA, after Charlie's death, did not.
There were no lies
that Charlie Kirk was trying to put out there, right? And what was it? Let's clear this up first, right? So Charlie was against genocide. Mm-hmm. He went to, I believe it was Patrick B. David's show that is misbehaving really badly right now. Like, I can't watch the guy anymore. But he sat there and he said, "I think they're going to do they're going to cleanse Gaza, like, period." Like that. Obviously, it was bothering him. So he publicly
Yeah,
said he's
bothering a lot of
abandoning Israel
people.
cause. And then you knew him better than most people, certainly better than me. He did not like, for example, Nicki Minaj.
So we have just learned that, well, I mean, I just learned. I think other people knew about it, but they have not been friends since closely after she was fired. They have not been close. She has no newer screenshots, other than, like, from 2018 and early 2019. They weren't friends. They didn't follow each other on social media. They had, like, a falling out that wasn't public.
Ben Shapiro, all of this. So where are we with TPUSA right now? We are supporting Israel.
He was on Ben Shapiro's show, like, shortly, like, within, like, the week before he died, and they were fine. So another lies. And who knows, like, why would he not like Nicki Minaj? I mean, he's a Christian, he doesn't dislike anybody.
We are bringing Nicki Minaj out on stage, like what, a few months after Charlie's death. Ben Shapiro opens TPUSA. So Charlie Kirk's messaging, the person who built the organization himself, was completely changed. And they're
No, it
blaming
wasn't.
Candace Owens for ruining the
It
organization.
was not completely
Oh, no, maybe
changed.
it was you, like, who actually changed the entire messaging.
You guys just say that and repeat it over and over and over again. That doesn't make it true. They have not changed. They have not completely changed any of the messaging of Turning Point USA. You guys are just saying it. You're just saying it and then, like, expecting everyone to just take it as truth what you're saying.
And was trying to get out there. And how is it Candace's fault?
You know, I go back to that post you wrote that just went so viral and describing
Yes.
the attributes of Erica that, you know, caused people to emotionally recoil.
Yep.
There was a portion of it where you were saying the problem with the psychopath and what makes them different is they have never experienced this emotion, so they don't know how to emulate it. The problem with Turning Point USA is just
Yeah, that post was disgusting, and I would be embarrassed to be this woman and to have made that post.
that, right? There, it's very clear that there has to be a psychopathology that is ruling the roost because they haven't thought through the natural response people will have to certain things that they're doing. So even if you, let's say, theoretically, plotted the assassination, everyone's guilty, everyone Turning Point is guilty, right? If this is not being ruled, like whoever's making the decision is not an actual psychopath, you say, okay, we just need to keep things at least for a year, like what Charlie wanted. Okay, so like no Ben Shapiro on stage. Obviously, it's not a good idea because Charlie, it's pretty on record, he hates him, right? That'll make people go, eh. You tell Erica, like just to kind of go out there, like when she immediately came out and said, went to Barry Weiss.
It's not on record that he hates, like I said, he was friends with Ben Shapiro and was on his show, like, very shortly after he died. When was the last time Candace was on his show? When was the last time they were around each other? Recently. Yep.
Do you believe he did it? Yes. No. If I'm directing PR, I'm like, no, you go, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting for stuff. Like, that's the obvious thing to say is like, you don't know, because that's how a human would feel is I don't know. Erica also be angry. The Egyptian plane thing. It's not fun. No, you should go. I don't know. That is really strange. I don't know. And I have contacts and I'm going to ask Kash Patel to employ because that's how humans would feel. And this is the normal trajectory of human emotion after watching your husband be assassinated. Also, go away. No Zoom calls.
So
Even if
true.
she's like, I'm ready, like how to manage a psychopath. No, psycho, get back into
Yes.
bed. Pretend you're crying. Okay.
Right.
Pretend you can't get out of bed. Maybe lose 10
Man,
pounds
this
or
is
eat
so
or gain 20
gross,
pounds,
you
run in the
guys.
direction like you emotionally eat or emotionally don't eat. And yeah, going to restaurants, celebrating, and laughing at the memorial, like all of that can't happen. So they needed a non-psychopath to manage what happened afterward.
Exactly.
Don't take down all of his stuff. You just keep saying his voice is going to live on forever. Everything they did.
So this has been debunked. They never took down all of his stuff. She just keeps saying this over and over again. It's not true.
Ran so counter to how a normal human being would have reacted. And so all they had was money. That's what psychopath understands. Money equals power, right? So they were like, well, we have money, so we'll just spend money on influencers telling people, as Ali Sakia did yesterday, that this is a spiritual sickness. Your soul is in peril. If you have any questions about Erica, okay, thanks, Ali. We'll just keep pretending these lies were normal and like we'll go. That's fine. Spend money on Graham Allen every day saying, anybody who questions Erica, we can see.
The Bible, Candace, tells you how you are supposed to treat widows and the orphans. And it is definitely not what you are doing. So when actual Christians who actually believe the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ see the behavior and what you are doing and what it's leading to in the fruit, where people are now all over X calling her a, you know, a calling her all these horrible names, saying her children aren't even really hers and all this stuff. All that's fruit from what you've done and the insinuations that you have made. That is not the fruit of the Spirit. That is actually disgusting and evil. So when real Christians see what you're doing and see the fruit that comes from it, and then they say something and call you out on it, then you mock them. Then you mock them for your behavior, for pointing out your behavior that's disgusting, just despicable, nasty. There's no grace, no charity, no love, no sign of the gospel in your heart of being saved by the Lord Jesus Christ, and you think that it's acceptable to do what you're doing even just now, the stuff that you're insinuating and implying on a widow of a person that we all loved greatly and who was a wonderful man, and you've broken down his memory and his life into him being like this idiotic, dumb person that had no idea about the people around him, about his own wife. I mean, it is just so disgusting what you've done. And so, yeah, Christians are calling you out on it because the Bible also says to expose evil and have nothing to do with the fruitless works of darkness. Okay, so yes, what you are doing is disgusting and evil, and nobody has to be paid to call you out on it. It's called being a Christian. Erica is actually a Christian who displays the fruit of the Spirit in her life. Or so she is our sister in Christ. Do you understand that? Like, we don't have to be paid to call you out on your nonsense and your lies and your smear campaigns. It's disgusting.
What's happening here? You're not gonna MK Ultra us into believing that her actions are normal because we're human.
Yeah, and isn't it weird how everyone is okay to criticize everyone else? I don't know if you remember this when Trump was running. I mean, things that were said about Melania, or, I mean, people were mean as hell. Nothing like that was said about Erica.
No.
And somehow we are, again, gaslighted into this that you can't touch her. You can't touch her. No, no, no.
Lady, have you seen the stuff that is on Twitter? Are you insane? Nothing like that is said about Erica. You are a liar. You are lying. You are a straight up lying person. This is disgusting. Dude, I have seen the most disgusting, nastiest stuff I've ever seen in my life of people talking about Erica Kirk on social media. Oh my gosh. What these women are nasty.
I don't want to touch her at all if she just stayed away. But here's the thing, when you come out as a public figure and you do all this, you are going to be a subject of talk, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry.
You don't get to skip it.
Exactly.
You don't get to skip it.
Yeah.
My life has felt like one long public autopsy, right? And that's because Charlie and I went through that. They started going through his life, looking into scandals, all of this stuff. I remember it's like, okay, this is what it means to be a public figure. And they're basically going, well, she gets to just graduate and no one can look into her and she's untouchable. And by the way, she's going to have more power than ever because this organization is taking in, it took in $250 million in like the last quarter or something.
Exactly.
I think more actually. And they're going, you can't say anything because we're just going to keep throwing down the widow card. No, she's not the widow. She is the chairman and the CEO of a company, where a public assassination took place.
By choice, by the way. No, not public, but by choice.
She's not a widow. She's not a widow. She's also a CEO and all that, but she's also a widow.
She's a CEO by choice.
By choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And beyond that,
by choice.
It's out of, she came out as it was out of public duty, or private duty, I guess, to her husband, because apparently we're supposed to believe that Charlie had the exact opposite ideas in private than what he expressed publicly. That's BS. Okay. And he just 2 weeks before he died, something overcame him. And he said, hey, if anything ever happens to me.
Yes, Candace, it's normal for a husband to leave his empire to his wife. What are you talking about? This is normal historical stuff. And she is not a regular woman anymore that has a husband and stays at home with her kids and does whatever like she was doing. She is now a widow. She is different. Okay, like, what are you talking about? All this stuff is so normal, but she makes it into something that's like crazy, Like, she's not living a normal. This isn't normal for the way she expresses things. Like, she should not be doing this podcast. She should not be putting herself into the situations that she puts herself into.
If I ever get shot in the neck, I want Erica to become the CEO and chairman. and they have an opportunity to present that video and they just don't want to present it. They grifted off of every possible thing you can grift off of, including the tent he died under, which was available for photo ops at AmFest. But the actual footage of him saying that, which would have been so powerful, so emotionally motivating, it would have
Because he lived in that tent. It represented, like, how people saw him. It's how people remembered Charlie. Just because he died and was taken out doing what he, loved doing doesn't erase all the times that everybody met with him and saw him under that tent. It doesn't erase his entire life that he spent doing the work he did under that tent. That's what it was for. That's what it was for, to represent that part of his life. Oh my gosh. And I think it was, like, not even I think they did that all the time too. It wasn't even I'm not for sure exactly for sure about that, but I think I saw something about that, but it doesn't matter. It was for to represent his life, his living memory.
made people get behind her, even if they didn't think she was qualified for the job, right? It'd be like, oh gosh, that's like the last video of Charlie saying this. Okay, if that's your last wish, I'll do it. No, they can't release that video.
Yeah, that tent was so weird.
She has several degrees and she is extremely qualified. Candace Owens acts like she was, raised in like a crazy homeschool cult or something. And I homeschool, so I'm not like against that, but like never achieved anything or had any kind of skills. She has several degrees. She has like a PhD. Like what are you talking about?
If someone did that to a friend of mine, I'll bury everyone. Like, I'll be, are you out of your mind? What are you doing?
Approved
That's
by
a
Elizabeth
normal person's
McCoy.
reaction. Yeah.
Her idea went in the room. They thought it was a good idea. They all approved it. Again, the roost has to be being ruled by
Right.
psychopaths. Anybody else would just be like,
Yeah.
no, obviously we shouldn't do that. That's very
It's weird.
strange. It's weird. It's haunting. It feels like a seance of some description. We're not doing that. And they're
It's
just
not
like,
funny, but it's so
beyond
funny.
that. There's
Yeah,
no
it's just-
human. I'm like, is there a human in sight at Turning Point USA?
Yeah.
Just a human. Just bring in a human. Just what is your job? I am human. You know, like what is your official title? Human. Just shut down every idea of
In
weight
charge
and
of human reactions. In charge of
HR, human reactions. Like, and I'm like, that's why I need to do my podcast. Hire me. Run it by me. I'll be like, no, obviously, no, you shouldn't do that. And so they are thinking that they can spend their way into editing public opinion, and they are learning in a. I mean, just Melissa, sorry, it has the recent speech she gave.
Yes.
There's not a human, right? There's not a human. That there's so many things that should not have happened. Like, just go. No humans.
No,
they're sentinels.
This is such nasty, mean girl, just disgusting behavior where they're just nitpicking every little thing that she does. It's so gross to me. I can't stand this type of thing. Let's laugh and make fun of this woman for this entire episode for no reason. There's nothing she's done wrong. Nothing.
I am now down for the conspiracy that we're
By the way,
fighting.
I called it with Tucker too. I knew they would out Tucker at some point.
Of course, that's what he was fighting at the end. I want Candace back.
Yes.
Tucker, they're trying to get rid of Tucker. They're going, no, you can't have Candace back. His last day, he texted people at Turning Point USA saying, I want Candace. September 9th. And that wasn't just that chat that you saw. He also texted.
So that's not so he was threatening it. So he wasn't saying like I want to have Candace back. He was saying if he was frustrated and upset and he was like if they don't knock it off, I'm gonna invite Candace back. It was like it was actually a poking fun at her. Like he was poking fun at her, like she's crazy and nuts and she pisses everyone off. So I'll just have her back. And he wasn't being serious, you know what I mean? And that's what's so funny is she like has made it into like, oh, he wanted to have me back when it was really making fun of her.
More people saying, I want Candace back.
Right.
Because he woke up to what was around him. And I was always, as I was, I took Charlie, I don't like that person. Vibes.
Yep, exactly. And that was part of my game that I told you I wanted to play. Imagine for a second that these people had been just slightly smarter. And when Charlie passed away and was killed in a manner that he was, imagine if they came out and said, you know what, we are going to honor Charlie's last wishes and we're going to have Candace, open his ceremony or something like that, or Tucker, or bring people that Charlie wanted back. At least play the game better.
They were not friends. They were not friends. Why would they have somebody he wasn't friends with for years and years open his ceremony at his memorial? Like, are you serious? Like, if I died and then my family went and found somebody that I used to know like 6 years ago but hadn't talked to since, and we kinda had, like, not the greatest, like, last moments or whatever, and to invite them to speak at my memorial service. What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
you know? But do you think that part of it was they just didn't care? They just thought they were too powerful. They didn't have to play the game.
I think that because I believe Charlie was assassinated as a part of a broader conspiracy, I think also they, in their minds, were trying to delude the public into thinking that his legacy was Israel. I mean, Trump, within minutes of his death, posted a photo of Charlie hugging an Israeli flag with an American flag. Bibi comes out and tries to assert, I just spoke to him. I just invited him to Israel. So we were instantly getting hit with like Israeli propaganda. And like, so almost like the best way to honor Charlie is to remember how much he loved Israel. And that registered as strange.
He did love Israel.
It's very strange. And for people who knew how his opinions were shifting, as I did toward the end, it registered as especially strange. And then they fought that and said it wasn't true. No. And then people went, okay, I think that was the whole purpose. That was the whole reason that they immediately had Ben Shapiro on his show. I mean, the disrespect of that is stunning, right? You're supposed to hate the people he hated extra after he's dead. Even if it's not, like I said, even if it's not righteous anger, you should still experience it, because you should, if you want to misplace and be angry, you'd be like, and you did this to him in high school. I don't even like you. You know, you made him feel sad in 8th grade. Like, that's how I felt. Like, any person who did anything to him. I remember a journalist that like emailed and I was like, are you out of your mind? I remember how you tortured Charlie, writing article, and you want this, like, despicable.
All of these friends all of a sudden became best friends of Charlie Kirk, and they're opening the ceremonies, and it's pathetic, man. That's what it is. It's pathetic.
Wanting to open, like, and that's why I say, you know, there's an element of this, and Megan,
like you guys are doing.
I think she said on her show, she was talking about the obsession that Mark Levin kind of has with her, and it's deranged and it's crazy. And then the gaslighting, when she replies, they're like, "Oh my God, what happened to Megan?" It's like, what do you mean what happened to Megan? Do you see what he's like, what she's enduring right now?
Yes.
But she said something like, I think if he could physically harm me, like he would. And that's what I keep trying to get people to understand. That's real. That is how I feel about Ben. There is something not right with him, that he was able to do it. That he was able to instantly say, I'll pick up the bloody mic. Everybody knows how he feels about him. This is the worst kept secret in politics. It's not even a secret. Andrew Colvin admitted that on the day that he died, he was upset with Andrew for making him interview Ben the day before. I mean, he admitted it in his New York Times interview. He was like, now you have to host a show because you made me interview him.
Oh my gosh. People were just saying, like, people say things like that in a moment of like crisis. Like, we'll pick up the mic, you know, that he dropped. We'll be here with the message. We'll keep the message going. It wasn't like what she's turning it into. It's just so ridiculous.
Everybody knew this, right? But think about what it takes spiritually to not feel some sort of shame, to just be able to go out there, to go to his memorial, to go sit in the chair of his studio and to give $1 million and to sort of try to like assert your.
Imagine what it's like to be you, Candace, and to feel no shame for what you're doing and what you're insinuating and what you've been doing for like literally since the day after he died. The very next episode after your My Friend Charlie episode, the very next episode is when you started this. Imagine having no shame and being able to just go out there every day and do what you do and not be embarrassed. I don't know how you could possibly do that. It's so bizarre to me. Like, wild.
Yourself into his legacy. What is wrong with you? There are people I don't like in politics, and I don't you know, have real beef with. Like, I don't like Barry Weiss. I don't like her, right? I'm like, I think she's just like not talented, not a real person, and annoying, right? But I have no like personal beef with her. But if God forbid something happened to Barry Weiss, do you think that I could stomach being that sleazy? No. Oh, I'm gonna go to Memorial. I'm gonna see if I can try to speak on her behalf and pretend that I'm gonna take on her legacy. That gives me the spiritual ick. I couldn't stomach myself. The fact that they can is why I say, like, spiritually, we are dealing with something different.
Yeah, something is very wrong with them for sure. And it gives me Alan Dulles vibes. I mean, it was not enough to kill the president. He had to come back and lead the investigation as if they couldn't find another person to put in charge. Like, no, he had to do it. Almost like in your face, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. So you got to tell me, how did you manage to piece off two presidents?
Honestly, it was,
so one,
I'm talented.
Yes,
I'm very talented. I was like, you know, it's so funny because George and I were discussing, like, leading up to when we started getting, I mean, just even receiving a letter from a sitting president of a foreign country. It's like, does this happen ever in like the history of the world? So I was thinking,
not often.
I think this is just to shut me up. Having a president call you and ask you not to talk about like the gender of a foreign leader's wife is just all of this is very strange. And I have to tell you, I was like, oh, of course they're not going to actually sue. Like, I was like, because that's just so crazy. That would be world history. It's never happened in the history of the world. Like, a sitting president. I'm like, this is just like, of course not. This is crazy. And then when we got the lawsuit, I was like, my goodness, this is like, I've made world history. And then my husband actually researched, and no, it's been done one other time. I'm gonna have Skylar them look up the president. It was sued somebody in Hawaii or something. I can't think of what country. It was a very obscure country sitting president sued someone, and he lost a lawsuit. And I was like, darn, I almost made history. It's only happened one other time in world history, but it's bonkers, and it doesn't signal to the public that I'm lying. This was a public guy. I'm very much telling the truth. This is not normal. This is not how you react. People say things about Trump. People call. Could you imagine opening the gate to this? By the way, of foreign leaders being able to sue. I mean, whew, Vladimir Putin's just going to be dropping lawsuits every day. Like, you called me this, you had no evidence, you called me a killer, you did this. It's
and winning, by the way.
Right, it would be winning. He will win. The things that have been said. You said we were colluding with Russia. I'm suing. Like, that is the opening that gateway to even the pretense of that is like, whoa, what did we land upon? What did we land upon that has you shook? And again, you see this as a PR strategy because she's not suing me for saying that she was born a dude. Anybody that can read a lawsuit, that is not what this is about. She is suing me for saying.
Oh, I'm sure you know all about PR strategies, right, Candace?
She stole, technicality, she stole her brother's ID. She's suing me for mentioning MK Ultra as being the day of her fake birthday, you know.
No, I've read the lawsuit. She's suing. Yes, the 200-page lawsuit is only about her stealing an ID. Like, and it's 200 pages, Candace. And yes, it is about you calling her a man because it says that she provided you proof that she wasn't a man and that she would be willing to take a test to prove that and blah, 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 blah. It's 200 and something pages. She just lies. She's lying. This is a lie. It starts off talking about how she was calling her a man. That's like in the first paragraph, I believe.
That they established, which it was, you know, MK Ultra, and Jean-Michel Trogneau did happen to go missing. Brigitte says, "Oh, I was here for the moon landings." I'd like to hear more about that. What were you doing in 1969 in the moon landings in America? And there's
there were probably all kinds of people here for that.
Came to America for a spell and was doing stuff in the military. They have sealed his file, won't let people access it to defend themselves. Why? Why? It's aged out. It's supposed to be public record, publicly accessible, and they won't do it. And hey, why don't you just like show up somewhere with your brother and just debunk all the rumors? You know, have your brother sit for an interview and say, "Oh yeah, I'm the brother. I'm a little camera shy, but this has gotten ridiculous."
So I actually looked into this whole situation about her brother and her and all this stuff. And Candace, what she just said right then, that they were like, why wouldn't you guys just be in the same place together? Well, they have. There's tons of documented evidence of them being together in the same place. So let me show you. Yes, Brigitte Macron and her older brother, Jean-Michel Trogneau, have been together in the same place on multiple documented occasions. Macron's presidential inaugurations in 2017 and 2022, Jean-Michel attended both events and was photographed in the same frame area as Brigitte. These public appearances are cited in court documents and reporting as direct evidence that they are two separate people. So, once again, she just lies and lies and lies and makes up things and lies some more, and just everybody takes whatever she says as gospel, and if you just go take 5 seconds to research it, it's like nonstop. You can watch one show of hers. This is one interview, and I refrained from pausing on every single thing, but on one episode, you could probably find 100 lies in just one episode. It's unbelievable. This woman does nothing but lie and make things up. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like this before.
So, or just ignore me. Just ignore me. If I'm so wrong and I'm crazy and I'm a clown, you know how many clowns are out there speaking, you know, about Vladimir Putin, Trump, everybody. Just ignore me.
Yeah. Why are you taking trips to the White House and asking the president to shut down a podcast?
And then tell him that, as I understand, he told him he would help out with Russia or something like that? Or
well, the Ukrainian war caged it, but now I don't believe him, obviously. And I think Sergio Gore was kind of pulling the strings on that. But it was basically, yeah, you know, like if you stop talking about this, because I just need you to do that for negotiations, like trying to end the Ukraine war. And so principally, I was like, yeah, I'm happy to take a temporary vow of silence on this because I don't want to be responsible for Christian men being slaughtered in the East. But obviously, eventually, I want to talk about this because this is an important case where somebody is in power who harmed a child. And it is also getting into, you know, the occult and the things that they do and the grooming that takes place. And I've not edited my opinion without question. Brigitte was born a dude. And so now it's about, are we going to bank?
See what I mean? Where everything goes back to that worldview. I told you she has this like deep worldview about the Frankists and all that, and it colors everything she sees in the world.
Corrupt you for knowing. Well, one of the things that's I feel like I am willing to take a lot of this repeated attempts to blackmail me is because what they are at risk of exposing. Everyone's paying attention to these cases, right? These are not quiet cases. You're not going after a random person. They're exposing themselves. they're going to expose themselves in the process. Like with the Charlie Kirk case, they wanted everyone to stop talking about it. Everyone's reading every document. So the question really is to the government, how far
Yeah, and the documents prove that you're lying.
Day when people realize it's all an illusion and that you're just going to stick stuff on an innocent person, try to destroy them, you will end up with a revolution.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
before we wrap up, I got to ask you, what was it like when you met Erica Kirk the first time?
I remember meeting Erica at Del Frisco's, and
Oh, let's talk about Erica some more. We didn't talk about it enough.
And I was excited to meet her because she was giving him attention. And what I mean by that is, out of respect for their marriage, I won't get into too much detail about.
Oh, out of respect to their marriage.
Offensive to the marriage. It's like obviously people like try to date before, and he was trying to date this girl that he was totally obsessed with. And this girl that he was chasing, it's kind of one of the worst kept secrets. It was like me and Don Jr. were trying to help him navigate this. And because I was always with Charlie, basically every time this other girl would text him, like I was texting her back. Like I basically had to become a lesbian for a year as he chases goes, like, what should I say? I'm like, oh, at some point you're gonna have to text her yourself. Like everything you'd screenshot, what should I say, blah, blah, blah. And like kind of, he always
Woman's opinion.
if I work hard enough, I can like get this girl. That was his mentality. And he was just obsessed with her. Like reading back on those messages of this girl who then became one of my best friends and was in my wedding because of how much I felt like I was chasing her, because I liked her a lot, that the girl he was chasing. And I knew that she was gonna let him down because it was very obvious that she wasn't into him.
Yeah.
And because he was kind of young in those ways. And she was younger than him, but younger girls, older guys sort of a thing. And Charlie, I basically kind of forced him. And I was like, you need to go sit down with her and you need to ask her. Like it's been a long time. I've been messaging this girl a lot. And I think you need to just sit down and say, is this something or it's not? And I knew she was going to let him down, and she did. And he was heartbroken about it. I mean, like truly, truly heartbroken about it. And as someone who viewed him as a little brother, obviously you don't like, I wanted to like find like, just like, Charlie, it's okay. Like, you're going to find a girlfriend, whatever. And so when Erica, then Tyler Boyer sets up this, like, I have this person for you to meet, and he comes and he's like, oh, well, she's a bit older. And initially he was like, I'm just going to use her to try to like get.
So the Andrew Colvett thing is a thing she made up. I would highly doubt this story is even true at all, because the way that Charlie tells the story about how they met with like gleam in his eye, you could tell like he's so excited when he tells the story, is nothing like what she's about to say.
So-and-so jealous or whatever, because this was like the first date or whatever. And then she was a bit more persistent and giving him the godly spiel, and the messages, and I'm just going through our messages, like, look, this is maybe what God wanted me.
So she's implying that Erica Kirk manipulated him by being like godly and Christian-like because she knew that's what Charlie wanted
to have. And, he was sort of wrapped in on, hooked on that because Charlie was a Christian. And so when I went to meet her, my thought process was, this is probably just going to be a girlfriend, but I'm glad because this will nurse his broken heart. And also he'll realize there's other people, and great. Obviously my first instinct as a woman was that she was older than me. And I just thought that's kind of weird that she would be into Charlie. Charlie's quite young in those ways. He's an absolute genius. He's got so much going for him, but like he's young in those ways. Like I'm like telling this kid to like wear a suit that fits him, and he was.
Oh my God. Yes. Let's diminish Charlie.
And
let's diminish him to nothing.
Charlie Kirk virgin? What?
Yeah, that's something he talks about.
Oh,
yeah, so he was very. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't even had his first
that
kiss.
Is so sweet.
Yeah, so that's why he was so unsure of himself in those ways.
Why are they talking
to him about anything else? He could debate anybody, but when it came,
why are they talking about him and his sex life and all this? This is so like inappropriate, Oh, he's so sweet. Oh, he didn't know what he was doing. He was so innocent. And Erica was older than him. He was 25 and she was 30. Like when you get to those ages, like nothing like that matters. He was running Turning Point USA. Like, whatever.
The girls, he was young,
I'm older than my husband.
So when I met her, and to be clear, I'm going to say I became best friends with the girl he was chasing. She was fun, I just, nothing, just what everyone kind of sees now, just kind of, okay. But I did not care. And I supported, I was like, go for this.
Right.
Every message will show.
So you were never friends with Erica?
No, because there just was something like, I don't know, I can't explain it.
Did you ever think that she wanted it that way? Did you ever think that she wanted you out?
Hindsight is 2020.
Right.
Everything changed. But I just did not think that way. Because it's just not how I think. There was nothing when Charlie and I first started traveling together, I had a boyfriend, not my husband. I had a different boyfriend. And so it just, my brain didn't think this way with him. There was no
There was
sense
no
of,
reason to. That
yeah,
was no
I
reason to.
invite
Charlie had
more.
everything.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, if she's traveling with us, great. Like, I want to get to know her. I want you to have a girlfriend. I wanted that so bad for him because I knew how much he wanted it. And that's how we were with each other. We constantly root each other on. Like, we were always defending each other. We always root each other on. And so if this is going to be your girlfriend, I'm going to love her more than you do, sort of a thing. And same with
Yeah, okay.
George when he met George.
Do
Well,
you
first,
like him?
first he said this is going to be bad for your brand. I was like,
Aw.
Charlie, this is what I mean. He had these little autistic, like he would hate if I said that, but like autistic like qualities. Where I'm like, love is not a brand, Charlie. Like, these are the sort of conversations I would have to. Charlie, love is not a brand. Okay, it's like, and then he and George like just adored each other, and
Aw.
George was traveling with us, so he really got to know him. And then I had this message where he just was like, I just have a vision, and he's like, he's the right guy, and I see this so clearly for you, and it's whatever. And I always think back now, and I get emotional about it. I genuinely think that meeting George saved my life because it was right when it took me down a different path in life. I was very much in the turning point, and if I always think, what if I had stayed? And I was still doing tours with Charlie, but George took me down a different path, and I thank God for that. And it was all happened very quickly after Charlie had the vision about his death. Charlie had the vision about his death. Erica came into his life. They were dating sort of quietly. I meet George, fall head over heels, get married, get engaged 18 days later. And I just replay 2018 in my mind all the time. And then in 2019 was when suddenly I started to realize like forces are sort of,
Some things just
new
happen
people are
because,
arriving in his life. He's got a
Yeah.
PR agent, Stacey Sheridan, and I'm going, these people are weird. But I never thought Erica, because I just thought didn't even look into her. Like, this is just going to be a girlfriend, and it's great that he has a girlfriend and he's getting experience with it.
Distracted and happy,
Like
yeah. And
I just rooted for him. So
yeah, wow. How interesting. I think it was all, like I said, meant to be, because Charlie was on this path where he just, essentially sacrificed himself without him even knowing, for American people to wake up.
that's what
And
he
you were
said.
there to fight for it.
He did know.
afterward.
That's the scary part. He did know.
Oh, he
he
did
pre-
know because
he
he
predicted it.
felt it, but do you think that he kind of, so
He
was
said
like,
he said my death, and he kept telling me he would die. And these are in messages.
right.
So I shared it. He said that he was going to die from the moment he signed on a dotted line and turning point. He started having visions of his death, and that he was going to die, and he wasn't going to make it to see the end of the revolution, but that his death would be tied to the revolution, and that people would wake up. So the fact that Charlie knew that in 2018, it was the most haunting thing for me to reread, because at the time I was like, get some sleep. You're tired. And he said that he just constantly dreamed it, and then he died.
Candace, where does this battle take you now? And you're not alone in this. Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, these people. Poor Megyn. She accidentally ended up in the group.
Respect to Megyn Kelly.
Absolutely.
Because I would never, if you had told me to
Incredible
pick
woman.
who would be the
Yeah.
person to,
Yeah.
I can't even explain to you how much it means to me. Like, because when I was just telling the truth, and hey, his views on Israel were shifting,
Right.
and they just spent all the money to have people come down on me. That was actually her crime, was she just said, his opinions on Israel were changing.
Right.
And it was
That was
crazy.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
She told the truth about her conversation. She had a long conversation with Charlie about it. He came on her show. One of the last shows he did was Megyn Kelly venting about it, and they had conversations off record. Tucker Carlson told the truth. He has messages. And so that it was such an act of bravery. And then she just stood her ground on it. Stood her ground on it.
Absolutely. No, she's awesome. I give her more credit because she comes from this very indoctrinated world of this, big media, and to be able to be strong enough to get out of it and, somehow find your own way and then become even more powerful.
Mhm.
It's absolutely kudos to her. Talk about your faith.
My faith.
Yes. And how it shows up in your work.
It's funny because, as I told you, I've spent the last 2 years studying theology, full stop, because I realize I always go back to when I met my husband and I was learning about him. Obviously, I guess I'm learning about him during the engagement because we were 18 days. But one of the things I thought was so weird was that he chose to read theology. We say majored, they say you read. And so he chose to read theology at Oxford. And I thought, wow, of all of the subjects, like, why would you want to pick theology? It sounds so boring, right? And the answer that he gave to me was that everything is guided by theology. The whole world is theology. And it didn't hit me. I was just like, okay, whatever, sounds fun. And he had made the decision to become a Catholic, even though he was raised in a strong Anglican household. Very big deal in England to become a Catholic, especially from an Anglican household. I just didn't sort of get what he meant by that. Everything is guided by theology. What do you mean by that? And so my journey was sort of this awakening to, oh no, everything is guided by theology. Like, what is your theology actually? What is moving you? He's like, that is the most motivating thing in the world. That is what motivates people, blind faith or an absence of faith. And when I started to, because I was just going to a non-denominational church at this time, and I now realize that all of these people who are quote unquote Christian influencers, they actually don't believe in heaven and hell, right? If you truly believed that there was a heaven and that there was a hell, how would it correct your behavior? What risks would you be willing to take What would you sacrifice? What would you, and for me, I know that heaven and hell is real. And so I am not bending the knee to Satan, not for money. You can't take that with you when you go. Not for houses, not for cars, not for friends, not for invites to Republican dinners with rubber chicken, not for more opportunities to speak to powerful people in DC. I am not exchanging my ticket to heaven for any of that. Okay. So that's what shapes everything. It shapes everything for me. And so that the focus for me and for my husband is to make sure that we
Okay, so then you do not believe in the true gospel of Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not die but have everlasting life. Believeth in him. The jailer, after the beautiful moment of praising and the Holy Spirit came down in the jail with Paul and all of them in the jail, and then the angel lets them out, and then the jailer comes running after them, even though he's probably like going to get in trouble, comes running after them after seeing what he saw, says to Paul, what sir, what must I do to be saved? What must I do to have what you have? And Paul looked at him and said, believeth on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. So going to a meeting, going to meet with people in DC, how is that losing your ticket to heaven? If you believe, the moment that you believe in Jesus Christ, you are born again, baptized in the Holy Ghost, sealed. And you'll make mistakes and you'll fall off, and then you know, you make it right again with God in your life. But like, even if you're saved by believing in the Lord Jesus Christ. That is the good news. That is the gospel. So she doesn't believe in that.
do not lose our tickets to heaven, and that our children also do not lose their tickets to heaven. And I would love to see everybody there. I hope everybody comes to know the one true faith. I hope that people realize it doesn't matter if they smear you or libel you or try to embarrass you or try to humiliate you, because this is a blip. Life is.
She didn't say, I hope that everyone comes to know the one true God, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. She said, I hope everyone comes to know the one true faith.
A blip, blink, it'll be over. And then you are going to be welcomed or rejected into the eternal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I love about you? Even with all this stuff that's going on, like there's not ounce of hate I feel you have towards these people, not even tiny bit. After everything they've said, done to you, tried to destroy your family, tried to destroy your show, not ounce of hate. Ken, is this amazing?
Yeah, I don't wake up and because
It's
hate
poisonous.
is poison. I think about that when I think
Yes.
about the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
You spent 3 years trying to destroy your enemies.
Yeah.
That is so corrupting to wake up every
Yeah.
day. I can't imagine like to my team, this is the directive. How do we destroy the Daily Wire? It's like that is, oh God, could you imagine just the cloud that just descends?
And you end up destroying yourself when you do that. That's what
because
happened
it
to
is
Daily Wire.
destroying your spirit.
Yes.
You can't have
Yes.
success like that. And
Yes.
so I'm surrounded by too much happiness. I obviously just being around children every day. They don't afford you the right to be miserable. It's why I started doing a co-homeschool situation, because I love to deal with toddler problems first. The first thing of the day, deal with toddler problems, realize what really actually matters, what they're grappling with. And it has shaped me and has focused me. And
This never made sense to me. All of her kids are under 5. Why are they in school? She said, that's why I'm doing the homeschool thing, because I want to deal with toddler problems. So toddlers don't go to school. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So how would they have been in school for you to take them out and do homeschooling?
so for me, just like my grandfather, it's faith and it is family.
Absolutely amazing. My last question, and we're done here. I know it's not going to end up this way. Like, if I can say somewhere around 100%, it's not. But if Erica Kirk turns out to be super innocent in everything, and we're just,
Oh my gosh. This woman is obsessed with her. If Erica Kirk, and I know this isn't going to happen, but if she ends up being super innocent and everything, these people are literally like, oh my gosh.
unfairly blaming her of maybe wrong grief or whatever, what would you say to her?
Wrong grief?
That she's absolutely innocent in all of this.
Unfairly accusing her of wrong grief? What? What is right grief?
If Erica is absolutely innocent in this, I think I would just have more questions. Like, why'd you lie to me? I would seek to understand, and I considered that plausibility, by the way, that like
Of
it was everyone
course.
around her.
If Erica didn't actually kill her husband, I think I'll just have more questions and I'll have like another series to make about her. Like, oh my gosh.
That was kind of, and she was in a state of shock and she was
Right.
catatonic. But then when I met her, it wasn't that. When I met up with her, it wasn't that. And the lies are too devastating. These aren't little lies. These are cover-up lies. The Superman neck lie. Is this AI? Like the first thing, she could just drop the video. She's the chairman and the CEO, instruct them to drop the video. And if they tell you no, say I'm going to go live. You have all the power. So it would be hard to imagine a scenario where her hands are completely clean of everything. How dirty her hands are, I don't know. But I do know that you only lie, like I always say, when you are covering something up. So when I say these people are involved in a cover up, that is what I mean. They are lying and they are covering things up. And
You lie all constantly.
She should hate Cash Patel for 1,000 different reasons. Right now, her lawyers are arguing in court. The defense is saying her lawyers are saying we want to keep this May date, and the defense is saying we can't because the FBI hasn't given us files. Call Cash.
Yeah, we don't even have gun.
Call Cash.
That's a total misrepresentation of all that, and it's a preliminary hearing, which means the other side does not have to have all the evidence yet. It's just a preliminary hearing, and the FBI is always like this in every case, and Erica Kirk does not have control over the state of Utah and how they run their case.
Yes.
Make it happen right now.
Yes.
Why are you going to events with Cash?
Yeah. What's up with that? Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I was asked the same question. I was like, after my post, and I gave a very, very easy answer to people. I have no problem apologizing to anybody if it comes to that, because we all make mistakes. But right now, Charlie Kirk's case is important.
Pretty big mistake.
That I'm willing to risk my reputation and damage and say what I'm saying. Because yes, Charlie's case is important enough. So no problem with that.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I will say I am so sorry. We had it so wrong. But I can already say we didn't have it so wrong because we've caught her in so many verifiable lies. So
exactly.
Does it mean that she pulled the trigger and killed her husband? I don't know anybody that's accused her of that. But I accused her of being dishonest. And I think I've proven my case, that she is dishonest. What's motivating that dishonesty is yet to be discovered.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. You're so wonderful. And it was a true honor.
It was an honor to meet you. I'm so happy that we were able to do this.
Thank you. Me too.
I wish I would have never watched that. I wish we would have never. What are we even doing? This is terrible. That was horrible. I'm sorry, you guys. Well, I'm glad that you guys were here. I'm glad all of you are here. I love reading your guys' comments, and it's really fun. Every day I wake up and I see new comments and I see some of the same people, and it's like, oh, I know them. They're always around. And I just love that so much. And so I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you. And please like, comment, and share, or I will be abducted by aliens. And I'm still working on finding that letter because it was in the pile of mail that then got moved. And now I don't know where it is. So I'm still working on that. So please like, comment, and share, because if you don't, I will be abducted by aliens, because I received a letter from YouTube telling me that I'm not having enough subscribers. And you know how the little g gods of YouTube are. They are mysterious, and we have to be very careful around them. Okay, also, if you would like to leave a super thanks, that is in the bar down below, in where my logo is, on that bar below the video. And so if you would like to do that, that'd be wonderful. If not, no big deal. I hope you guys enjoyed this viewing of these two ridiculous women, and I will see you next time on The Eclectic Journalist.